As coaches, we failed to get through to them. As coaches, we failed to make our coaching points and our points more compelling than their fat little girlfriends. Now, their fat little girlfriends have some obvious advantages. For one thing, their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear, which is how great you are.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
That was a grave error, and there was far better paths ahead than candy corn. So, yeah, I have no interest. It's one of those items that, there's a reason they serve it basically once a year, because it's not very good to begin with.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
My wisdom would be you have to stay out of the way. Now, and I wish you a very happy marriage, and I'm sure you'll have one. But I'm just telling you, when it comes to marriages, the women lose their mind.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Don't say anything else about it, but as soon as the season's over, or even an off week, go elope. Trust me on that. Go elope. Because basically every female in the family is going to terrorize you guys until it's over.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
We're looking at cooler than normal temperatures, and it's going to be windy, but windy's not all bad because other teams that try to throw the ball don't practice in the wind that we do, so therefore we can pass, they won't be able to, so we like that.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
The chat room is already going full throttle with RIP Mike Leach and many different comments about Mike Leach, the former Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State coach. We, of course, had different comments, opinions, and stories on him yesterday, and today we try to honor him as much as we can. And at 3:25, Chris Lovell, who's the sideline reporter and also does Texas Tech men's basketball, is going to join us at 3:25 and his thoughts about Mike Leach and his life at the end of his life at 61 years old. I'll say this note real quickly, and then you guys let's discuss him, and there's so many ways to do it, and that's great, Paul. The open was fantastic. That on the day that Mike Leach passes away, yet another branch in his coaching tree at the head coaching level is sprouted. Eric Morris today named the new football coach at the University of North Texas, former Texas Tech receiver. He now is one of the newest names. We're going to show you his coaching tree here. Jacob put together a really cool graphic in just one moment.
Yeah, Eric Morris's star is on the rise, but one of the more recent guys off the coaching tree takes the place of another guy, Seth Luttrell, who's on his coaching tree.
Yep.
So, and in a pretty smart move by North Texas not to shift philosophies all that much, especially based on what you've got on the roster there right now. But I just today, and I thought what's the best way to kind of honor Mike Leach with an open and all that. You'll hear a couple of things in the top 5 today. I think the thing about him he was just so funny that I think he would. I didn't know him at all other than a couple of interviews and media day type things. The availabilities throughout the years and stuff like that. But I do know that he liked to make people laugh, and I thought we'd start off with a good chuckle on.
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, seeing a lot of those clips put together of him, videos over the years of different comments and interviews and, funny things that he said, can make a lot out of a lot of what he said, and make a lot of fun out of it because he was a fun guy, first and foremost, and also a great football coach and a great football mind, and truly one of a kind. I think I said one of one yesterday on the show. I've since seen that repeated because I think everybody's got kind of the same thought in mind of just how unique he was and how just Mike Leach he was, and there's not really, too many comparisons you can make. I'd definitely go like the Lane Kiffin route, and like in some ways just as far as like the fun with the media and kind of, being a little bit goofy in a good way. But, I mean, there's nobody quite like Mike Leach. And you see the outpouring of support from, various college football luminaries and former players and just all points in between, fans from various different fan bases all over the country. And it's been a huge outpouring. Everybody kind of had an early indication that this probably was going to end up this way. When the news started trickling out on Sunday, I think all signs pointed to this probably not working out the best for him in the end. And I think we all held out hope that it would, even though the news kept coming out and it was still sounding dire and, continuously asking for prayers, but also acknowledging that it was going to take, every prayer imaginable and then some to try and, help him out of this situation. So I think we all kind of knew we were going to end up here in the next couple of days, unfortunately. And here we are, unfortunately. And, we lost a legend, man, in the game of football and in college football in particular. And, just prayers out to his loved ones, how sudden and shocking that had to be for him to, how sudden and shocking it had to be for his family. So rest in peace to Mike Leach.
61 years old, and when the news came down late Sunday, you saw or heard some of the rumblings, and he's gone. Late last night, here's the official statement, at least the conversation from Mississippi State football. Mike Leach, 1961 to 2022. Coached at Washington State, turned them around. Went to Texas Tech, of course, and turned them into a national threat when they had the 2008 team that had that incredible trifecta with Texas, Oklahoma, and also Texas Tech. As a Nebraska fan, Nebraska used to own Texas Tech. There were some games that were a little bit dicey. I think he won like 4 or 5 in a row against them, and one of them was 70-10. And so he turned Texas Tech, of course, into what was truly amazing.
I think that many Texas Tech fans were not over their dismissal of Mike Leach and him subsequently going to Wazoo after that until the day Joey McGuire got hired. And
based on some of today's reaction, they're still not over.
Probably, and they maybe never will be, because he was perfect out there, and maybe he wasn't going to stay forever, but it was the best that, fit the personality, because, look, the 2 best coaches in Texas Tech history are Mike Leach and Spike Dykes. And what you can say about both of them is that they were both unique. They both didn't feel limited by West Texas. They found ways around it. And part of that was just being fun and funny and different and quirky and all of that. So, I think there are people who may never get over what happened with Mike Leach in Lubbock.
Craig, you were at Tech for a little bit. Did you ever, just the thought when you were there with him on campus, did you ever see him on campus? I know they were playing games or whatever. You were didn't live that far away from the stadium. Did you ever even see him on campus or bump into anywhere where he was?
No, I didn't have any interactions with him at all. I mean, I know people who did, and I was out there, at the same time that they beat Texas with a famous Crabtree catch, and I remember just the jubilation on campus for that. But never any personal interactions. Obviously knew people who played for him. And one of my good buddies, committed and signed with him, but could never really play because of injuries once he got out to Lubbock. But, I only heard really good things, quite frankly. And you've seen a lot of that echoed today. And, I just think that he was – a guy that really embraced people and really embraced the quirks that people have and embraced just kind of the funny side of things, like who goes on rants about candy corn. I mean, now a lot of people do, because now it's almost played out to knock on candy corn. But, just little things, little diatribes, little, it's like video after video of people who are like, I didn't, know him that well, but this one time I interviewed him, and everybody's got their 15-second clip of the, their little interaction. And I see John Elizondo from, San Antonio or something. Yeah. A card trick that Mike Leach showed him in an interview. And there's this person talking about the candy corn. He's just, we're seeing it all over the place. And it's cool to see kind of the remembrances and all the memories that have come flooding back for people and just their way that they've been touched by him. And it's an immense amount of people. So, he did well while he had his time on this earth, and it's just too bad that it was cut short, much shorter than anybody expected. And I'm sure his wife probably more than anybody and his loved ones. And so they're reeling today. I mean, if complete strangers are having a hard time with this, you can only imagine those who really knew him, how they're feeling, especially as abrupt as this felt to those of us on the outside looking in. So, yeah, I can't imagine the pain they're going through, and just wish them well. And I'm glad that, there's a lot of people by the thousands that are all coming together online or in person or however it may be, and collectively sharing their great memories of this guy.
So let's look at his coaching tree, shall we? Chris Level will join us today at 3:25, and there is stories. Purdue has a new coach in Ryan Walters, and stories in the transfer portal. Somebody at Utah's, was it Clark Phillips III, a hell of a defensive back at Utah, turning pro. But we'll get to that in a minute. Here is his coaching tree, and Jacob, I know it's a bunch of stuff to put in front of you, and we didn't add all the various parts to the right of each coach. Obviously, Dave Aranda, he was a GA at Texas Tech. Neil Brown played wide receiver under Mike Leach at Texas Tech. Sonny Cumbie played quarterback under Mike Leach at Texas Tech, and he was a GA at Tech. Sonny Dykes, wide receivers coach, co-offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. Josh Heupel played quarterback at Oklahoma when Leach was their offensive coordinator. Dana Holgerson coached with Leach at Valdosta State and was the wide receivers offensive coordinator at Tech. Cliff Kingsbury, he's on the hot seat with the Cardinals, but we know he played quarterback under Leach at Texas Tech. There's an asterisk next to Seth Luttrell because he was recently fired by North Texas. The former head coach at North Texas played quarterback under Leach at Oklahoma, and he was a running backs coach at Texas Tech. Then there's Eric Morris, who today was named the head coach at North Texas, who played wide receiver at Tech, wide receivers coach under Leach at Washington State. Lincoln Riley played quarterback under Leach at Tech, assistant coach at Tech, and then Ken Wilson, the head coach at Nevada and the linebackers coach at Washington State. To the right, Robert Anias, Syracuse offensive coordinator, was an offensive line coach with Leach at Tech. Bill Bedenbaugh, one of the just legendary offensive line coaches at Oklahoma.
Anias actually just taken the job with NC State.
Okay,
He's
then
not
there's
with
another
Syracuse.
head coach.
No.
Offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Okay. Bedenbaugh played offensive line at Iowa Wesleyan when Leach was there, and also an assistant on the coaching staff at Valdosta State. He also coached with Leach at Tech. Alex Grinch, remember him? Defensive coordinator. He's at USC, at Washington State. Brandon Jones, Houston's run game coordinator. Played offensive line under Leach at Tech, offensive assistant at Tech. And we mentioned Eric Morris, who was on that list. We moved him to the other side. And how about this one, Wes Welker? He's the Dolphins wide receiver coach, played wide receiver, of course. And that offense was perfect for guys like that, Danny Amendola, names like that. He, of course, played wide receiver under Leach when he was the head coach at Texas Tech.
Yeah, and then those guys are going to have. There's guys under those guys who are coaching.
Yes.
So it's just the roots of that tree run deep. The branches run deep. It's long. It's amazing. Again, he's. I did see something this morning from someone that, as a head football coach, to be qualified for induction into the College Football Hall of Fame, you have to have won 60% of your games. He's at 59.6. So. Really, they kind of need to round that up, because contributor to the game or whatever, this guy has changed college football. The best I saw it, and I should have said, I saved it and then I deleted it, but I saw a tweet thread from someone earlier, and if I find it again, said that it wasn't that he revolutionized offense, he democratized it. In that it was, instead of the passing offense, like when he and Hal Mumme started doing this, people were reticent to throw the ball a lot because they felt you had to have a certain type of quarterback. You had to have this guy that could do these things and had to have this kind of arm. And they flipped that philosophy on its ear. They developed a lot out of Lavelle Edwards and what they were doing at BYU, and then just grew the air raid out of that and really came up with different schemes or simplifying things to where you could pass the ball a whole lot more. I mean, Darryl Royal had the famous saying about throwing the ball, 3 things can happen and 2 of them are bad. And that was the philosophy across football for a long time. Mike Leach, Hal Mumme, those guys didn't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I'd add Graham Harrell, West Virginia offensive coordinator, on there as well. And there's many others that you could add to that list. It's a pretty incredible coaching tree, and we only just took a glimpse of it. But, yeah, it's sure to span out a lot more than it already has. And we look no further than the head coach across the street in Dave Aranda, and looking forward. Dave Aranda never tweets, like never, ever tweets, never. And he's tweeted twice in the last 2 days to remark on, one, best wishes for Mike Leach, I guess, yesterday, and then today to say, he's sorry to hear of his passing, and, the best wishes to Leach's wife. But, yeah, I mean, the after effects of Mike Leach, I mean, I think of him as a Big 12 guy because that's just what I grew up watching, and that's where I grew up watching him was in the Big 12, and I was out there for a little while he was head coach at Texas Tech, and then, to see him go and do his thing in the Pac-12 and, then to go see him now do his thing in the SEC over the last, little bit has been, cool to see him spread his wings, but certainly his offensive ideas and his, influence has spread all over the country, as you point out, with all of those coaches listed, and then the ones that we're not even thinking of, are the ones that aren't on there. It's immeasurable his impact on the game, and not just at the college level. I think the high school level has been absolutely affected by Mike Leach, especially in the state of Texas, and the NFL to an extent as well. So, yeah, great football mind. Obviously, very beloved by those who knew him. I see like Bob Stoops, I think it was like the first tweet I saw today because Leach was on the Oklahoma staff. It was brief, but he was on the Oklahoma staff, and right as Stoops' tenure was kicking off and they won the national title there in year number 2 as Leach went off started being a head coach. But, yeah, I mean, you look pretty much any corner of college football and there's some Mike Leach influence or story or connection. And, again, what an impact he left.
So that's that with Mike Leach, and we, the chat room, a lot of you just RIP Mike Leach, the Pirate. Get your Pirates up. All of that, we appreciate you for that. Mississippi State has made the announcement that they will play in their bowl game on January 2nd against Illinois in the ReliaQuest bowl game. Their AD search, I think I saw Ross Dellinger with this from SI.com, as they look for a new AD, has been at least somewhat delayed for the time being. We can understand that. We mentioned Eric Morris hired at North Texas to replace Seth Luttrell, part of that Mike Leach coaching tree. We'll hear from Jared Mosley, the UNT, the new AD. He'll join us today in about 30 minutes. Purdue, they have a new coach. Jeff Brom is at Louisville, and now Ryan Walters is at Purdue, head football coach at Purdue. And, Paul, you made a comment in the group text with Craig, you and me, about he's kind of just paved his own way.
Yeah, he has. I mean, look, he's come up. He's a young guy. He's 36. I think that that Ryan Walters is a really interesting hire for Purdue. In that, I think that if you're Purdue, much like your Georgia Tech, Stanford, those kind of schools, you have to, if you want to compete for the conference title, find a way to do it that's maybe not what everyone else is doing, because again, you're Purdue. Like you can't just be any kind of Joe College and go to Purdue. It's a really good school, so they've got the academic limitations. They and Georgia Tech, I think, are really similar in this. And you have to find something that is your identity. And if your identity is going to be what Ryan Walters is doing on defense, based on what he did at Illinois last year, that's a pretty darn good identity. Because that in the Big Ten, in the weather, Jack's a Purdue fan. Outside the month of September, how many good weather games does Purdue really play? Yeah, not that many.
Not many.
So
you put up zero.
Defense travels, and that attitude travels. So I think it's a really interesting hire. He's a young dude, 36 years old. You take him from a conference rival. I like the hire. And
a lot of new names in the Big Ten. A lot of new head coaches in the Big Ten with that, and Matt Rhule, of course, among some others too. Wisconsin with Luke Fickell.
Yeah, I mean, he's a young guy, like you said, but has been kind of all over the place. I mean, as far as, kind of getting a dip into most every sort of like little geography or landscape or conference around the country. He's got, good amount of experience despite, being under 40 years old, and obviously did a tremendous job, in conference at a place that hasn't really been known for a whole lot of highlights or a whole lot of winning as of late. He made Illinois, a fun team to watch on defense and had them up there in major categories and, top of the ranks, scoring defense, for example. So really made, or helped to make Illinois one of the better stories in college football and one of the more interesting teams in college football. And great opportunity. That's a program where, thankfully for him, it's not like massive expectations right out of the gate. Now, there are expectations, don't get me wrong, but it's not, jumping into a situation where you're expected to win 10 games. I think they're going to, have the room to, let him kind of put his fingerprints all over this thing and create something hopefully special and build off of what Brom did, which, he did an excellent job, did a better job than many, ever thought that he could probably do. That's just not a job you think of and you think like massive success or great spot or whatever. And Brom did a tremendous job and, left a good foundation for him to come in and build off of. So, yeah, they'll be good defensively. I feel pretty confident in that. You never know, like personnel-wise, with today's transfer portal and all that goes with that, how quickly you can, shape rosters. So I'll be curious to see how he goes about doing that, assistants that he hires and whatnot. But, familiar territory, good defensive mind, young guy, good energy. Be fun to see how he grows.
Yeah, he's good for him. Good for the Big Ten. Got some fresh names coming into that conference. Real quickly, a couple of notes. Chris Level will join us, who has covered Texas Tech for many years here in the next segment at 3:25. Max Olson had this one. Austin Reed, Western Kentucky gunslinger, entered the transfer portal, and now will go back and take himself out of the transfer portal, staying at Western Kentucky. We mentioned Clark.
I thought, I'm sorry about that, but just comment on this real quick. I thought he would have been a great fit for Phil Longo at Wisconsin, or anybody who runs the air raid, but or any kind of something like it. Really kind of surprised about that, but good for Austin Reed going back.
Clark Phillips, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Maybe they're looking at some bigger fish. That's perhaps why. Maybe looking higher. There's a lot of quarterbacks in that portal right now. So anybody out there looking for one, especially at a spot like Wisconsin, who's got Luke Fickell now in charge. I think maybe they're perhaps shooting elsewhere. But yeah, that's intriguing and very interesting that he's going to remain where he is.
Utah cornerback Clark Phillips III entering the NFL draft. When I voted for my All-American team, my cornerbacks were Clark Phillips III and Travius Hodges Tomlinson at TCU. The Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award finalists were released today. Here are the 4 finalists. They'll be announced at a banquet in Tyler on January the 11th. Max Duggan, Frank Harris at UTSA, Bijan Robinson, Texas, Deuce Vaughn, Kansas State. That, in my opinion, and this has been going on since I think 15, this might be the deepest group of 4 names they have ever had as finalists for that award, honoring, of course, the great Earl Campbell.
Well, try to make an argument that one of them is more important to his school than the other.
You could go all day.
Look, I can tell you that if it's who the most important to his school is, Frank Harris might beat all those guys in that he has helped revolutionize what we think of UTSA.
Those were my 4 picks when I voted for it. Yeah, no, I agree, Paul. It's hard to say he wasn't the Heisman Trophy winner for UTSA and for a lot of what they've done.
Yeah, I'm proud of that final group. Some scuttlebutt about, do we need a 5th person or, how many, I thought of kind of like the Heisman ceremony. You could have as many people as you want to, but I think, to keep it as close of a vote as possible and to keep it as competitive as a vote as possible, I thought that those 4 right there, you can't really beat that. I think people are really going to have to kind of rack their brains on who was better, who was more important, because you can make a case for all 4 of those guys. And what's unique about it this year is that this is really a award focusing on the state of Texas and guys from Texas, but there is a caveat that if you play in state, like Max Duggan and also Bijan Robinson, which I don't know if that rule will stay past this year, honestly, because just the depth now in the state of Texas with guys going all over nationally, that might not be as necessary as when the award was first created, and you kind of had to have some of those guys who weren't from Texas but were representing Houston, UT, A&M, elsewhere. But yeah, Duggan and Bijan, not from here originally, but have certainly made their marks at their respective institutions. So more than worthy. And I think that's a great group of 4. And I don't think you can really go wrong with any of those 4 if you were to pick any one of them.
We got a break. Chris Level and his relationship with Mike Leach, when he was at Texas Tech and now part of the broadcast team in football and also men's basketball. Chris Level, next on 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We have spent the first 30 minutes and, of course, a lot of time yesterday and even more later today and right now on the legacy and the man of the unique Mike Leach, former Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State head coach. And Chris Level put up a note that he may not be where he is today without Mike Leach in his life. And he, of course, does sidelines for Texas Tech football, men's basketball as well. Chris, I know this has been a long day and a tough day, but when you think of Mike Leach, what do you think of?
Yeah, it's I think that people, they are going to focus on, and rightfully so, because it was never a dull moment when you were around Mike about, the different, the rants, the comments, the funny just takes that he would have on just anything in life. He didn't want to necessarily be pinned down as a football coach, but I just, and I think that rightfully so, I think people are starting to realize what we've been around here for a long time is his coaching tree is just fascinating. And you look at, but I think when I think of him, I think he probably never got enough credit for the way he changed the sport. How it's played at the high school level in this state, how, the Big 12 changed offensively there for a long period of time, and some of that is spilled into the NFL with just slot receivers and just his offensive philosophy. And I just, there's so many, and you're seeing it today, but how many people, were affected or, directly or indirectly by just him and his involvement, and how many interactions the people would have from him because he treated, the custodian the same way as he did, a player or whatever. And you maybe didn't agree with the way he did things at times. People didn't, but he always did it his way, and that's what I always respected the most.
Chris, obviously, it was very strange how it ended for him at Texas Tech, and I know that, and I'm sure you hear this even still today, that people are still mad about it, fans that didn't think he should have been dismissed. Do you think that people will carry that torch for Mike Leach forever in Lubbock?
Yeah, I don't want to get into all that today. That's not. I mean, I don't. The way it ended is not what I guess choose to really remember. I think there's just people. I think this fan base was touched. I think he gave this program and a city an identity. When you saw the double T logo, I think you thought of throwing the football, and you think of what people call the air raid offense, which really wasn't even anything he called it. It was just something that they came up with, and and it was unfortunate. And I was around Mike last year in Memphis when Tech played in the bowl game there against the Bulldogs. And I mean, there's a lot of blame to pass around there on that deal. And I guess I just choose not to focus on that today.
What were your kind of initial reactions with Mike Leach, the getting to know part of the process and the relationship?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were in the we got to host his coach's show midway through his tenure here, and that was and he was the same. He didn't really respect the headset, if that makes sense, because he just he didn't care whether you're in a commercial break or whether like you hear bumper music or what. He just doing his thing, and and that was what was normal. And I'm just kind of learning and getting into this thing, and he never took himself too serious from that standpoint. And again, he's very opinionated, very stubborn, but very one of the smartest people you'd ever be around. And like I said, we would host his coach's show. Here you're hosting the Texas Tech football coach's show, right? And you're going to talk about the team and the game, the upcoming game, whatever. And there was just times where he just want to get on there, and that was the last thing he wanted to talk about was football. What books we reading? What kind of enchiladas did you just have the other night? I mean, just whatever it may have been, and that was normal. And that was the fun part. And I didn't know any different at the time, but we were around his kind of funny clips and rants and stuff all the time, and that was before social media and Twitter, and we would start to see some of these things go viral, I guess, and we're like, man, why does everybody think that's so funny? This is like a daily occurrence around here. So and I mean, I got many a call from him at 2 a.m. You get many call from him at on Christmas morning, just random, but that was who he was. And he just wanted to call and chat, and you're trying to get off the phone with him sometimes, and he's just getting started. So that's just who the guy was, man. I mean, it was just what a treasure.
You put up on Twitter earlier today, part of it was, not sure I'm doing what I do. If not for him, I owe him a lot.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay, man. We're talking to Chris Level, Texas Tech sideline reporter, men's basketball, who's been covering Tech for a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, I just my career in this business started right when he got here, and so I apologize for getting upset, guys. It's just
no need to apologize at all.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
good.
He just he trusted me, you know. In this business, that's what relationships are. That's what it's all about. You know, you go to work with these people, and you see them at their best and at their worst, and you know, you build real relationships with people. And yeah, my relationship with him was very real, and I owe him a great deal. So sorry about that,
Chris. It's normal and natural, man. We appreciate you, and I know it's been a long, long day. I really do. And we appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, and I appreciate you guys talking about it.
Yeah. Good luck, man. I know you got a game tonight. That's Chris Level.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
I think that just encapsulates, I think, how most people feel about him. And I think he was just so different and unique. And there is a lot of times where in this business we don't get to know the people we cover on any kind of personal level. And it feels very strange. I always kind of felt that way about when I cover the Cowboys because everything is so antiseptic, right? And that's fine. I get why they have to do it that way. And there's so much demand and you're there. So like when you get those little moments to like sit down and talk to a coach or sit down and talk to a player and just not talk about like, hey, third down in the Texas game, this happened. You just talk about things. And then when you can have that kind of relationship, it just makes it so much different, you know, and we've gotten to do that here with a lot of the coaches, and it allows you to cover them in a different manner where you can still be critical, but you also kind of understand a little bit better. And not every coach lets you do that. And Coach Leach pretty much let everybody in the world do that. And it meant so much. And you hear in Chris's emotions there what it meant to, especially early on in the business, have a coach treat you like a human being, because sometimes that relationship can be so transactional that you never really, you know, I don't feel like a normal person talking to you and you don't feel like a normal person talking to me because, again, this relationship is transactional and not personal. And that's something that Mike Leach, you know, really certainly did not believe in, was transactional relationships.
Yeah, I mean, don't blame Chris at all for being emotional. I think a lot of people are today because, again, it's obvious, you know, as we've stated repeatedly, how much influence and how many relationships he had, you know, all across the country and all across the sport of football and in particular college football, you know, and as Chris mentioned, you know, his start around the time that Leach was starting, you know, that's early Leach. That's not like the guy who we've seen the last few years. That's like young babyface Mike Leach, fresh off of being on the Oklahoma staff for a brief stint, and then, you know, getting into the thick of, you know, those 2000s Big 12 races where, you know, the air raid was just people losing their minds over what Texas Tech was doing. But, you know, Oklahoma was so good and Texas was so good. And just those, I think those Big 12 battles. And, yeah, I mean, he came in and made a impact and it was a lasting impact, and then went on and did that elsewhere. In other places, and, you know, most recently Mississippi State. But, yeah, I can imagine for Chris, I mean, Chris talking, that's 2000, like, what, when did he first get to Tech? 2005-ish?
Just right after Oklahoma, yeah.
2002. Like, I mean, that's 20 years ago. How old's Chris? Probably what, 50s, maybe 40s?
Maybe less than that, yeah.
Okay, so he was, 20, 30 when he met Mike Leach,
Very impressionable time.
Oh, yeah, and to be able to, I know for me, like, the first time I met, like, a college football coach, was like, wow, like, he knows the college, then you get older and you get used to it, and you're like, wow, you're just like me. Like, there's not really a difference other than your job title and, the way you're viewed maybe publicly because you're in a big role, but we're all just human beings, and so I think for a young Chris Level to be coming up and have the opportunity that he had, and have Mike Leach play a big role in that, and clearly you can tell from what he was saying there how emotional he was, and what you're referring to is helped him get his foot in the door and stay in the door, and now all these years later. He's obviously had a huge impact in the Lubbock community, but longtime sideline reporter, and so he's gone and carved out an incredible media career in Lubbock, and Mike Leach played a big role in that. And I'm sure that's not the case for just Chris. I'm sure there are dozens of others out there who have similar stories. Like Chrissy Freud, you're talking about her earlier, covering Mike Leach at Mississippi State, and saw her posting a lot. But that's just two people off the top of our heads talking here, but countless others I know from people that played for him or were around Tech at that time, how much he meant. And there's a lot of people feeling like Chris today, no doubt about it. I think what a statement is, what a statement is being made is, I don't know if I can't phrase this right, but I think a big statement is being made that if Mike Leach didn't realize how beloved he was, then I think he definitely knows now. And certainly his loved ones know full well now. I think he probably had an idea because, things pretty much were cheerful around him quite a bit. Like I think of a lot of his interviews and stuff, and it was always having fun or having funny conversations. So I think he probably had a good idea, but maybe not to this extent, because there are a lot of people torn up by his passing all over the country and all over this game. And Chris definitely not alone in shedding tears over this passing.
He had told me when I contacted him, I tried to contact him earlier today, and he was on, I'm sure, numerous shows, and probably one tribute, one interview, one comment, one thing he wrote after another. And he texted me actually just right before I left to come to the studio and said, man, I don't know if I can. I'm getting ready for a men's basketball game. I'm out of gas. And he said, but if you want me to come on, I'll be there for you guys. And I knew that I didn't know. He said, if I start to break down, just understand how close this hit me so hard. All right, when we come back, North Texas, part of that Mike Leach tree is Eric Morris, former Texas Tech wide receiver. He's been at Washington State where Mike Leach was. He is now the new head coach at North Texas, and their new AD, Jared Mosley, who once worked in Waco at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. He now replaces Ren Baker as the AD in Denton. He joins us next on his new his opportunity, but also the hiring of Eric Morris. And this is 365 Sports. Christmas, shopping, somebody that you have or know or need to buy for happens to smoke cigars. In the Waco area, there is a place, it's Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans, that has a 48-foot walk-in humidor with some of the elite cigars, the best cigars in the country, but also the world. The 1964, Padron. It's the number one cigar for 2021. They have boxes of them inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor. They also have Macanudo, and they have Rocky Patel and Arturo Fuente and Romeo and Julieta, and more Ashton. Elite brands of cigars. Some of the ones that are somewhat underrated, like My Father, E.P. Carrillo, or even La Fontana, one that I do enjoy. It's a real smooth smoking cigar. Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne are there. They have the accessories you need when it comes to if you want to get a humidor to put the cigars in, you want to get the cutter for the cigar to cut it, and then a torch lighter, they have that. CBD products, including Vita Dreams, that helps you fall asleep more relaxed and maybe save yourself from losing 30 minutes to an hour of sleep because there's so much on your mind. It's Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
All right, we're now joined by University of North Texas Athletic Director Jared Mosley, who joins us on 365 Sports, and he was named the AD to replace Ren Baker, was on the staff at North Texas, and today made the announcement of Eric Morris as the head football coach. Jared, thank you. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, great to have you on. By the way, congratulations on your opportunity to run North Texas.
Hey, I appreciate it. Love the opportunity to join you guys, and it's what I love about sports and life is I feel full circle being able to talk to you guys today.
So you made a decision today that was a pretty big one as well with the hiring of Eric Morris, part of that Mike Leach coaching tree, which we've talked about, Coach Leach, a lot the last couple of days. Your thoughts about getting Eric Morris?
We're really excited. We started our search last week and had a fantastic candidate pool, but he quickly rose to the top. And, as you look at a lot of the things that we were, in search of, he certainly exceeds in a lot of those areas. And so finding somebody who had ties to Texas and understands the importance of connecting with high school coaches and tapping into the talent that's in and around not only the state, but certainly DFW. I think the fact that he's been a head coach and won championships at a place where they didn't have every resource at their disposal, I tend to lean towards coaches who have to get creative and have success, and he's certainly done that. And I think his track record, when you look at just being able to develop talent, particularly at the quarterback position, it just felt like those three things aligned well with what we were looking for.
Jared, one of the other things it'll be able to do is schematically, offensively, while there are, differences in what previous coach did and what he will do as far as play calling and things, you do have the talent kind of in place to run those systems. So it kind of allows him to hit the ground running with the guys you already have on your roster.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing when you look at transitions, you want to try to provide some continuity in the things that were working well. And so, in our conversation with Eric, the one thing that I kind of gravitated to early, he talked about early days in kind of the air raid system and, the fact that they could put up points, but we're having a hard time closing, high scoring games. And, he just said when they went back and really dug into it, he said we needed to double our rushing output, that the teams that had success were able to run the ball a little more effectively. And so, the fact that he's been able to adjust his own philosophy and figure out what works for him, I think, it fits well here.
Given all of the changing landscape, and that's probably a word or a term that gets overused at this point, but it's true when it comes to college athletics, everything's constantly changing, it feels like. How much different is it, asking certain questions, or what kind of new questions do you have to ask a coaching candidate as compared to just a few years ago?
Yeah, I think, certainly coaches ask us a lot of questions when it comes to, NIL and what are we doing for student athletes to compete in that space. But I think, one of the things that, talking with coaches today that I think is just interesting to hear, different philosophies and approaches on is when it comes to, the dynamics of the transfer portal. The fact that you have just a high volume of student athletes who do go in, and the fact that, about 38-40% of them find homes. So, that's just been, I think, interesting and something everybody's trying to figure out and learn as we go along since it's relatively new. But, I do think, talking with Coach Morris and his approach to that, he still wants to target and have a presence in the high schools. And then, when you can select specific areas and needs and fill that with the portal and looking at kids who maybe want to come home and, that are from the DFW area, it resonated with us where we're at today.
Jared, was there any thought at all that today you announced Eric Morris, who played for Mike Leach, and just the timing of it all?
No, I mean, and it's, I think one of the things the last couple of days and just talking with Eric as we went through our process, I know this was an emotional process for him just because he shared his relationship with Coach Leach and just how much Coach Leach mentored and provided him opportunities early in his career. And, I know today for him, he said this one really hit special today. And so I know his words were, I know Coach Leach is up there smiling down and proud as heck of where I'm at today. So I've been thinking about him a lot and happy we were able to get this announced so that he can take a deep breath for a little bit and reflect on that friendship and mentorship he had with Mike.
Jared, I know that you just did hire a new football coach, but you are new to this exact position. So we haven't even talked to you about your job yet at North Texas. You've been there a little bit, so you know the landscape. Sometimes these AD searches can drag on for a while, even if you have the candidate in-house. It happened really quickly. It's really smooth. How much does that help in going forward that you don't have to sit and wait and kind of do things like, well, maybe if I'm in charge in 6 months, this is what I'm going to do?
I think one of the things that I'm most excited about is, sometimes you go into a place, you definitely have kind of an observation and listening period where you're just trying to figure out how things work and where the program is at. And, the beauty of the opportunity here, having been with Ren since he got here, we've worked on this vision and, our plan as we move into the American Athletic Conference together. And so, a lot of the things that we already had on the table and have been aggressively trying to pursue to ensure our coaches and student athletes have success, we're not having to figure that out and recalibrate. And so, I'm excited about the opportunities here. I feel like what we have across our program, our coaches that we have in place, the facilities we've been able to improve, the location. I just think a lot of it right now makes for an exciting time for UNT athletics.
So you have been in the business of athletics, and of course I mentioned you had run the Texas Sports Hall of Fame when you were here for 3 years. The opportunity right now, Paul, Craig have mentioned some of the moving parts, and obviously the new move you mentioned in the American Athletic Conference. As someone involved in athletics, can you explain the changes that have happened so fast in a short amount of time?
If anybody has a really good, succinct answer for that, I'd love to hear it. I mean, it's wild. I will give credit to Ren, and I think a lot of people don't realize behind the scenes when those types of moves and conversations are taking place, that just the amount of time he spent behind the scenes ensuring that UNT was at the discussion table. And, to be able to lean on his network of people and the influence he's built across the NCAA, there's no question we would not be in that position had it not been for his hard work and just the instinctive discussions and that he pursued at that time. And so I don't know how or why these things happen, but I would guess, as long as TV money is involved and people are needing more of it, this won't be the last one. So you just try to position yourself as best you can.
So you have this transition. Phil Bennett, who's a great friend of the show, former longtime defensive coordinator at many places, including Baylor, the interim coach. You have the game coming up. How has the transition gone, and how has he done keeping that team together to get to everyone to game time?
I can't say enough about Coach Bennett. You guys know him and have spent a lot of time around him, but my respect and admiration for him, not only as a coach, that speaks for itself, but just his ability to rally people, the relationships he has with his staff and our student athletes. They've done a phenomenal job this week being able to keep things together and continuing to prepare our student athletes for this game against Boise. And so I can't say enough good things about Phil. I love him as a human being. He's been a great person and mentor to have down the hallway, just to pick his brain on the things he's experienced in his career. And I just love the guy. And so I'm grateful he stepped up and was willing to do this, because it's not easy. And to be able to keep your student athletes focused and dialed in, when their minds are racing, and to at least temporarily be able to keep kids out of the transfer portal and focused on trying to win this ball game, they've done a masterful job at that.
I want to read a tweet that Chuck Cooperstein, the great broadcaster in Dallas, Jacob, very impressive work by the new AD, Jared Mosley. There were plenty of names on this list. Eric Morris wasn't among them. He's got the air raid background, impressive work both as the head coach at Incarnate Word and offensive coordinator this year at Washington State, #Mean Green. That's from somebody that's obviously tied heavily into many things, athletics, sports, college sports as well. Your thoughts about what he said?
I mean, the tough part for us is not everybody's going to understand the hire. Everybody's going to have an opinion on what they'd like to see or who they want to see in that chair. And I think, as long as I've been in this, some of the best advice I've had is, winning press conferences is great, but I'm more concerned about winning 3 or 4 years from now. So I want to make sure I get the right fit, that we're able to find a coach who shares their passion for this place at a level where it sets them up for the best success. And, Coach Morris, he's earned this opportunity. He's well respected, and I know he's had other opportunities as well, but I'm just excited, and UNC's blessed to have him heading up our program.
I want you to do a favor next time you talk to Coach Bennett, because you'll probably get to talk to him before we do. Ask him the list of football coaches he doesn't know. It'll probably be a 5-minute conversation, because I really think he knows 99% of the coaches in America.
Well, I think you're lowballing this guy. I think it's more like 99.9%. And that's what I love. Like, anytime, some of my best times with Coach Bennett are just sitting in the office and listening to him tell stories about either people that I know or just situations he's had come up. And he's just a treasure trove of just wisdom and knowledge. And again, I'm thankful to count him as a friend.
Jared Mosley, the Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas, with us on 365 Sports.
So, Jared, just kind of circling back to this new era, obviously you mentioned the conference transition and all that. I know Washington State's playing Fresno State here in the end of this week, actually. What's kind of the timeline for Coach Morris and just getting this ball rolling up in Denton?
Well, when we talked this morning and we're ironing out those details, I just asked him, I said, Coach, what are your thoughts? I know you guys have this bowl game and y'all are about to hop on a plane today at at noon to go off to L.A., and he said, it doesn't really make much sense to me that I need to go coach that ball game. He said, sounds like to me and feels like to me I need to be there and let's get to work. And so I said, hey, if that's how you feel, I'm not going to argue. So I'm excited, and we're looking forward to him arriving tonight, hitting the ground running, and we're going to introduce him to the team tomorrow. And I know as we prepare for our bowl, we want to leverage this opportunity for him to get to meet, be a part of our tailgates and meet alums and fans and season ticket holders and donors. And then also to give him a chance here. You know, we've got a little bit of time here before signing day, and to let him be able to work through any recruits he feels we need to try to secure in this early period. And so I'm excited he made that decision. I know it's tough. I mean, he's leaving behind relationships there, and you know, that's always a difficult part of coaching. But you know, we're looking forward to him arriving in Denton and getting to work with us.
Well, you've got a good one coming in, and someone who obviously had success at Incarnate Word before he went to Washington State. There's a reason they reached out to him. And then you have this men's basketball coach who's not bad, and Grant McCaslin, and his connection to Baylor and what he has done for you. He's at a place that he's had success, went to the tournament. How often every day do you have to stay in touch, because you know that so many others would like to have him as their head coach?
You know, I've got a ton of respect for Grant, and our friendship goes back a long, long, long ways. And so, you know, the thing I know about him and appreciate about him is he's just open and honest. And, you know, he and I have a great relationship, and I know, you know, we want to do everything we can to keep him here at UNT because he's earned that. And he just continues to build his program, establish his legacy here. And, you know, so he's absolutely the best, and he's a solid human being. I mean, I think for, you know, when you're in my position, to be able to work with coaches who one are driven to compete and succeed, but they do it with the utmost attention to relationships and not just trying to step on people. And he lives that every day, and that's why he's successful.
Has he ever asked you if they had injuries on the inside with some of the post players for you to come in and practice because you have the height to do that?
No, he knows better than that. I would only be good. I would only be good for about 2 trips up the floor. And I tell people all the time, I stopped, when I turned 40, I stopped playing basketball because all my friends have these nice little zipper scars on the back of their legs.
Ah.
And for people who know my wife, she's not a very good nurse. And so I would get no sympathy if I were to go out there and get hurt doing that. So I made the wise choice and retired, and I will not be going out there ever again.
Would she even give you a ride?
Yeah, Trish is going to hear this one.
Yeah, would she give you a ride to and from, or would you have to Uber from the surgery?
No, she might give me a ride, but she's going to sit there and tell me to hurry up and get in the car myself. She wouldn't be there. Funny story. When I finished, I had never really had an injury going through college, and even when I played overseas. So we had moved back to Abilene, and I'm in playing a pickup game. I didn't wear my ankle braces, and I truly rolled my ankle for the first time ever. And she came home from work, and I was laid out in our apartment floor, and she just looked at me and she's like, "What did you do?" And so, you know, I knew at that point I did not want to have any type of self-inflicted injuries ever again, because it doesn't work out well in my household.
Yeah, you better watch that, Jared. Hey, it's great to have you. Thank you. When they announced that you were the new AD with Ren Baker, who had been on our show many times, headed to West Virginia, we liked it because we know you, and a great hire with Eric Morris. Good luck maneuvering over the next few days until the game coming up around the corner. And tell Bennett we said hi, and then duck after you do. We appreciate it.
Will do. I appreciate you guys and always enjoy spending some time with you.
Mean Green, North Texas Athletic Director Jared Mosley. He had been their Vice President, Associate VP, and also Chief Operating Officer since September of 2016. Again, was at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Eric Morris, who, by the way, was the head coach at Incarnate Word and then was given the opportunity to be the offensive coordinator at Washington State. All right, around the corner, we've got a couple of things to get to. Jacob, do you have the flag? I know I wasn't sure of the flag. This is the stadium, Mississippi State, Davis Wade Stadium. Chris Lowe from ESPN, someone got inside the stadium and put up a pirate flag that is flying at half-mast.
That's pretty appropriate.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
When we come back, a couple other notes in college football. Texas Tech has another quarterback coming to Lubbock. And then also Mac Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor at 420. And this is 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, Robinson, Texas. Dr. Steve Childress, as good as you could ever imagine as a dentist. And also someone who is not afraid to tell you the truth when it comes to your dental work. He will tell you, okay, this has to start being something you worry about, or otherwise this is what the end result is going to be, and you don't want to go here or there. He's done that with me for the last couple of 3 years. He's fantastic. He's met me at the office on a Friday evening because I had a molar, a tooth that was just so painful when I went to bite into something, and I just honestly did not know if I could get through the day. And I mean, nothing was going to numb that pain. He did, and then also took care of it. And then I came back on Monday morning. He said, meet me here first thing Monday morning, and we'll do the rest of it and make sure this is not a problem ever again. He is amazing at what he does. Work with our soldiers as a dentist. Think about that, helping our soldiers when they were in the field. And he's got an incredible staff from those who will call you to make sure your appointment is set up, to making sure they remind you in every possible way, to those who are the hygienist and everyone else in between, including dentist and including Dr. Steve Childress. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Did you know Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco is open to the public? Next time you're in town for a Baylor athletic event or you're in town for tourism, take advantage of their day passes for $10 a piece or the weekend for $30. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers 40 group exercise classes, including indoor cycling and yoga, boot camp, and bar. New free weights, weight machines, TRX rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines, and a spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alec Botch, where you will be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, kids club, 16 tennis courts, and 8 pickleball courts, and youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons available. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit wacotennis.com or visit them next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Well, I recommend Kegel Steakhouse, which is very casual. The other thing that's great about it is that there's very little salad there at Kegel, so then the girl will be forced to eat in front of you, which is something that women hate. But if you can make them do it, the earlier the better. The more that they'll conversate and let their show their true self.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Man, he was good at giving guys advice and women advice on weddings, wasn't he?
That was on a first date, and that was back when he was at Tech. And the question was, I'm taking a girl out, and they did it on the news. I am a freshman at Texas Tech. I am taking a girl out on a first date. What should I do? Where should we go? And he said that you should go to Kegel Steakhouse because it's casual, and you want somewhere casual so you can be relaxed. You don't want it to be too expensive. He said also Kegel's does not have a lot of salads on the menu, so she'll be forced to eat real food, which then you can see her real personality, and then she'll be forced to conversate and do that. And I saw that years and years ago, and I literally, while I was still dating, thought about that piece of advice every time I went on a first date, every single time. And I got to tell you, it's not bad advice. It really, really does work. Casual and fun, and not a lot of salads.
Yeah, he was funny. One of the reporters was post-game interview. We played some of the audio. You've done a great job with that. He just was really real, right? I mean, he was so funny. The girl, Freud, who wrote the article about meeting him and how she was scared to contact him and how just so gracious he was with her and didn't just dismiss her. It's a great story today. I think it's in Fan Nation from Chrissy Freud on her relationship as far as getting to know then Washington State head coach Mike Leach and then Mississippi State head coach Mike Leach. All right, so we've discussed a lot of that from today. There was one high school note. Last night, Texas Tech received a commitment. We saw this young man, Will Hammond, Hammond. He's a quarterback at Hutto, committed to Joey McGuire in Texas Tech. He's a gunslinger. He can throw it around. And their quarterback room, of course, was stacked this year, and they needed everybody because of injuries and even sometimes productivity. But he made the commitment to be a quarterback at Texas Tech.
Yeah, good for Tech. And, yeah, we saw Will Hammond. He's a pretty good player. Don't know much about his recruitment process or anything like that. But, yeah, he was definitely solid when we saw him against Midway. I will forewarn that pretty much every quarterback was pretty solid against Midway because of the way their defense was. But, no, he was good, all jokes aside, and, big kid and not afraid to sling it around. So, yeah, that's a nice commitment for Joey McGuire and company. They seem to have some really good momentum right now. I mean, that's a staff that they know how to take full advantage of momentum, and they know how to market, and they know how to, sell the brand. And I think you see that in the way they've upgraded the social media. I mean, they did a lot of things that Matt Rhule did when he got to Baylor. As far as Matt Rhule had to deal with more off the field stuff right out of the gates, and had to basically win over ESPN and every other sports outlet out there to actually just fairly cover his team as that team and not the program under Art Briles, basically. And that was an obstacle that most coaches will never have to experience. So it was unique in that way. But part of the way that he did kind of like cleanse the palate, I guess, was to, boost the social media side of things and to just create a little bit more hype in any way that he possibly could, whether it was the way they unveiled things on signing day, their signees, or whether it was music videos. Like he was a stickler for details, and that went into what he's doing now at Nebraska, and like picking the right social media person and picking the right video coordinator, and beyond, just your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator, like the off the field and the selling of the program and the image of the program and all of that. I mean, it can really come in handy in a game where you recruit people. You don't draft them at whatever your pick is because of what you did the year prior. Like, you have to win people over. You have to sell them. And, now some of that's going away because you literally buy the guys as opposed to selling them on your brand, although there's a little bit of both going on with some of the top prospects. But, yeah, I think that, they've created all that to say they've used those kinds of things, the video department and the graphics teams and the social media side of things. And then what they did on the field and the strides that they made in winning 7 games and doing so with the, plethora of quarterbacks and having to manage that. And then being able to hold on to some guys. Malik Dunlap, I think, was the latest to announce that he's going to be coming back next year. That's not happening if you don't have a really good culture being built up. And so I think Joey's nailed the culture piece. That's not a surprise at all because people love to play for him and all of his ex-players loved playing for him, and you can just feel that love. And, you could tell, especially post Matt Wells. Like, I don't know what the culture was with Matt Wells. I never got like, we love our coach vibes though, like at all. But you can tell they love Joey. And so that's why guys are coming back for another year. They can sense that they're on the doorstep of something. You take that momentum you have, you hopefully go win this bowl game, you land a big quarterback, you go have a big signing day. And then, you flaunt that and you sell that, and you create this massive wave that I think they've got going, or that's sort of building up right now in red and black, and it's going to be fun to see where that takes them. And momentum's a hell of a thing, man. When it's not good, then you have things start to go wrong, players transfer, whatever. That's going to happen even if you do. But it does seem like, and they've got a hell of a quarterback room, too, with Behrens Morton coming back, the young youth. Talk about a guy that got thrown into the fire and did a hell of a job, considering even when he got dinged up a little bit. All right, when we come back, Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mac Rhoades. I think Barron's going to be waiting behind Tyler Shuck next year, but that's okay. We'll talk about that later. On 365 Sports. DiscoverWoodway.com. You can go to their website. They still have that write letters or cards to Santa Claus, postcards to Santa Claus. They have a special mailbox for you to do that. Write a note, put a return envelope address on it. Santa Claus will write back your child, and have that for hopefully before Christmas. That's going on, in fact, right now. Also, Discover Woodway, the Pavilion Event Center at the Carling Bright Arboretum, the premier destination in Central Texas for life's special moments, weddings, private parties, corporate events. The Pavilion at the Arboretum, state-of-the-art 10,000 square foot venue designed for all the occasions, offering you opportunities to bring the outdoors inside. Large, floor to ceiling windows, beautiful. Hustle and bustle of what's going on around you. If you have an event and you want a special place to host it, the Carling Bright Arboretum, the Pavilion Event Center is where you should go. For more information, go to discoverwoodway.com.
The Big Finish sales event is happening now at Allen Samuels in Waco, and we're celebrating this holiday season with an incredible lineup of all new 2022 Jeep models like the Grand Cherokee L, Renegade, Gladiator, Wrangler, and the Wrangler 4xe. Jeep SUVs are known for their design and technology. The Grand Cherokee L even brings you extended seating with a third row. Hurry in, find the Jeep that fits your family. If we don't have exactly what you want, we can order it today. Wrap up some of the best deals of the year and drive home today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
And
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mac Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investment Brokers, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Cam Heathcott, and Chuck Verno. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Mac Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, with us most Tuesdays. Last week we had him on Thursday. There was a lot going on last week, of course, in Las Vegas, elsewhere, award ceremonies and foundation and Hall of Fames. He joins us on 365 Sports with Greg Paul, and I'm David Smoak. Do you have any type of recollection of contact or a story about Mike Leach?
I appreciate the question. You know, I'll tell you, he's when you think about sports figures and coaches throughout history, I think, you know, one word, character, probably best describes him. And obviously, you know, you think about, man, all of his coaching tree, those that are head coaches, you know, those that he impacted, that's a pretty big list. And, you know, a sad day. And, you know, I've seen, you know, Coach Leach, or I saw Coach Leach at a couple functions where, you know, literally he was just holding court with everyone. He was quite the entertainer when he was in front of people. And I think what struck me the first time was just the broad scope of subject matter he could touch upon. So, obviously our thoughts and our prayers go out to the Leach family, and again, a sad day for college football.
Your football coach is part of that coaching tree. Dave Aranda was a grad assistant for him, and Dave Aranda's a unique guy as well. The thing I think that I keep coming back to, Mac, is he was so unique in a business where it can be very cliche driven, right? And there are, we're going to play so-and-so football, and we're going to do what we do, and blah, 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 blah. He was out there unique. Are you drawn to those kind of, as an AD, drawn to coaches who are unique and cut their own path, or are not, in the box of cliche machines?
Yeah, I think I am. I think, I'm probably drawn to those that aren't, necessarily robotic and, are prescribed with certain sayings and maybe sayings, thoughts, I thought he was a breath of fresh air in that sense, because he was obviously very, very comfortable in his own skin, or he seemed to be. I didn't, I don't want to, make it sound like I had a relationship with him because I didn't. Now I know a lot of people that had close relationships with him, and so he was just unique. And I thought, I saw something today. He won at places where you wouldn't think of as places that you typically win at. And that's no disrespect to those places, but I thought that was a pretty dang good compliment because of his uniqueness, whether it was him personally or offense or whatever. He always found a way to maximize, whatever assets he had and then, turn that into winning football. So again, it's a sad day, and I think he would tell you he certainly wasn't perfect, and probably could have handled some things better, but he made an impact in our industry. That's for sure in a positive way.
So, Mac, there's the bowl game coming up next week. There's signing day also coming up next week. There's the transfer portal having just opened up. There's coaching hires. I mean, what's the calendar like right now, in particular for football and just all of the plates that are up in the air at the moment?
Yeah, it's chaos. It really is. And, you're trying to, if you're a head football coach, right, you're trying to navigate, in particular if you're going to a postseason in a bowl game, man, you're trying to have practice. You're trying to, keep young men, from going into the transfer portal. You're trying to stay connected with your recruits and, in anticipation of the early signing period. You're looking at the transfer portal. So there's a lot to navigate for our coaches right now. And as I think about the future, I don't know, if it, I don't know if it gets better, unless we were to do something different with the early signing period. But I'm not sure where, we've been down that road. We've looked at, moving it into January. We've, looked at it at several different places, and quite frankly, it's probably at the place where it fits best, unless you just get rid of it and just go back to the one signing period that first Wednesday in February. So a lot Craig, a lot going on that coaching staffs are having to juggle.
And the trend of late, maybe because of the Jalen Smith injury at Notre Dame, has been now players who have professional, I guess, goals opting out. And that's a part of this mix too, isn't it?
No, it is. It's kind of it's the new thing that's happening. I think what will be interesting, Smoak, to think about is, will you see any of that when the playoffs expand from 4 to 12? And if and I'm obviously making this up, but if you're a team that's seeded 9 through 12, is that a quote unquote big enough game for a player to not opt out and to participate in? So that whole dynamic, I'm interested to see how that happens. I think what possibly happens is the other bowl games outside of those first games on campus, how do those feel? Is there still significance to them? And do you see it stable in terms of the number that opt out, or do you see it increasing? So just be interesting to keep an eye on it.
Would those bowl games have to maybe, now that they live in the NIL space, have to maybe come up with paying the players to play in those bowl games to prevent some of those opt-outs? And even then, you're thinking about maybe even a significant number for one game, so it might not even be worth their while to do that.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting idea. And, we just participated, men's basketball in the game versus Gonzaga, where, the student athletes, both teams earn name, image, and likeness money. And so maybe that's, a potential way of keeping some of the players to play in those games. And, that could evolve as we think about it. It's name, image, and likeness right now is such a moving target. And, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that 2 years from now will be exactly like it is today, what we know it is today. I just think it's gonna change. I could potentially see it come in house. You'd have to figure out the Title IX piece of that, but I think that's going to continue to change and evolve, and how that is interwoven into potentially postseason is going to be interesting. Will there be a day that comes the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and you think about that potential here in the future, new TV contract, and is name, image, likeness going to have to be interwoven into that? That's the world we're living in, and I was talking to our staff. I'm not sure there's best practices anymore. It doesn't feel like there's best practices. It feels like there's safe practices, things that you can do that are secure, but it just, everything is evolving at such a rapid pace. It's, just trying to stay proactive and make choices, the best choices you can as things evolve.
Mac, one more question on the opt-outs. The other thing about it is, now, the way that coaches have managed redshirt years and, 4 games and all that, a lot of times most coaches are, saving the bowl game for one of those 4 that the people have to play because of that. But that can be a game where you lose your eligibility, or you have to straight up and down play a guy you didn't want to play at all this year because he's the last quarterback on your team after transfer portal and opt-out to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the stuff that, coaches are faced with. You've got one of the CFP, this is not an opt out, but this is a transfer, right? You've got, one of the teams in the CFP where they're, backup quarterback, a really, really good player, just announced he's going into the portal, and he's going to a school within the conference. And so now, that CFP team, their starting quarterback gets injured, in the semis, or that obviously huge impact. Because now you've got somebody on, that was 3 deep, now having to move up, and how many staffs have they gotten, and are they really prepared if their number's called? So there's just it's the world we're living in, and I think coaches are just having to find ways to adjust.
Mac, I know that many times it's been discussed the 2023 Big 12 schedule. It was going to be early December, but now we're at December 13th. Do you have, at least, can you give us a clue of when that might be released and your thoughts?
Yeah, so, I think we talked about Smoak on Thursday a little bit, and, the date that we had floated out there was mid-December, December 15th. I haven't heard anything differently. Now, I don't know that, the 15th is the specific date, but, as far as I know, I still think we're looking at, mid-December and getting it out there and at least the 23 schedule, so that we can move on. So we're close, but I don't have a specific date.
Brett McMurphy yesterday had an article about the fact that there is some sort of momentum with Texas and Oklahoma possibly leaving the conference after 2023 and in 2024. Have you seen, heard, or been a part of any of that?
So, I think, this conversation, we've been having it for months and months. And when I say we, I think the media, I think the Big 12, I think the SEC, I think, Oklahoma and Texas. And so, I would say that conversations are ongoing, and, certainly nothing imminent, but, if there's a way for, a Texas and an Oklahoma to move on with their lives, a year early, and that could be worked out in a manner where, it's fair to both conferences and the member institutions. That's something that's going to be strongly considered. And so I think those conversations are ongoing. And, I do think as we get into, the new year, probably the first quarter of the new year, there'll be, probably some clarity, because those conversations can't go on forever.
Will you or anyone who is remaining allow any kind of departure without still getting a lot of what you expect to get when it comes to whatever you want to call the money that they would owe, and also Fox, or ESPN making sure they scratch an itch for the Big 12?
Yeah, I think, the sentiment, obviously, and there's, we have attorneys, right, to figure out and negotiate all of that. But, I think the sentiment is that, there is a termination fee that we expect, both Oklahoma and Texas to pay, per our bylaws. And, both of those institutions were involved in writing those bylaws years ago. And then, I think when it comes to TV partners, if that departure is prior to the last year, then, we certainly, don't expect to lose a nickel, a penny, right? That will continue to be made whole. And I don't think I'm saying anything that's, prolific. I think that's common sense, logical, and that's the expectation.
Mac, you had the game with Gonzaga. You mentioned that in South Dakota. Brett Yormark also made the comment recently about Gonzaga when someone asked him in Vegas about them and possible whatever the future and realignment. But he also, I think, mentioned something about an international footprint in basketball. Is that something that is possible?
Yeah, I think that, look, we're exploring everything. And so, we've had a conference, play a football game overseas. So I think it's fair to say that, we're talking about, is there anything we do internationally? Does anything make sense, both football and basketball? And when we think about basketball, not just men's, but women's as well. So there's conversations like that are occurring and happening, and probably more right now at the 40,000 foot level. But I think there's an interest there. I think there's probably some belief that basketball is undervalued, and how do we correct that? And so there's those conversations going on. But I think it's safe to say that when it comes to the Big 12 right now, everything's on the table, and we're having a lot of conversation and looking at a lot of different business models and ways to do things and partnerships and connecting with a variety of different age groups. And so it's been really cool to be right in the middle of that and be able to speak into some of it and be a part of it. So, I think the Big 12 is going to continue to evolve, and what we are today, I think 12 months from now, we'll be different. There'll be some different elements in terms of the way we do business and operate.
The bowl game's like 10 days away, less than that. Do you think that Dave Aranda will have a defensive coordinator named before then?
That's a great question. I think it's a possibility. Craig spoke to, everything that's going on right now, bowl practice, recruiting, transfer stuff. And so I think that, it's hard to do a thorough search right now. Not to say that there haven't been conversations and contact and connections, but I think it's more likely it's going to be after. But there is still a possibility that something could happen before. And not only is Dave dealing with all of the things that we've talked about, but he's right now running defense, and so having to navigate and do that, and so he's got a lot on his plate right now.
Mac, thank you as always for your time and access. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Mac
Bye-bye.
Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, on a lot of things, including the chaos, as he says, total chaos when it comes to NIL, transfer portal, all of the things, opt-outs, etc. And we appreciate his time most every Tuesday here on 365 Sports. I know we have Craig's Off the Radar coming around the corner. Cedric Golden covers UT just after 5 o'clock. Anything from what he said, and there's a bunch about anything he mentioned. The defensive coordinator, I wondered if it may be after the bowl game, because is that person somewhere else right now? But I don't think that seems to be the case.
I mean, I think it just sounds fluid. I mean, I think these things can kind of happen, quickly. If, I'm sure that in his free moments and when he has time to think about it, Dave Aranda's reached out to the people he wants to reach out to. And then if they get to a point of like, yeah, maybe that happens, maybe it happens faster, but the bowl game is on the 22nd. So they don't have to wait as long to play and then kind of jump into that stuff as other teams do. So they, that game is next week. I mean, it's 10 days or it's 9 days from now. So they're on a different schedule than say like, a New Year's Day bowl game is, or somebody playing on the second or whatever. I did think it was interesting. He said, look, they'll try to find a way to get things to how they're going to be earlier if there's a path out, and those conversations are ongoing. So yeah, I mean that's the sentiment's there, but again, there's so many moving parts to that. I'm not sure how it would get done, but clearly everybody wants to be where they're going to be sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with OU and Texas, like the next time I hear about it, I want to hear that there's an official date that they're leaving. I don't want this to become like every 4 months we get bored with the news cycle and like let's spice this up again and throw some more gasoline on this little fire. I mean, the fire's been burning for a while now. I think everybody wants to go their separate ways. Everybody knows that next year's locked in, but beyond that, I mean, what's the reason really for staying together? So if OU and Texas want to pony up money and get this thing over with, then do it. But I'm sure that they're going to continue to have conversations to try to, find a more manageable and, a better way for them to leave if they can, which is what you'd expect their representatives to do. And the Big 12 is going to, fight for what they feel like they're owed as those two teams leave. So, at this point, I would just like to hear, as far as that story goes, the next time that there's actually some sort of an agreement on what's going to happen, rather because I don't want this to become like Texas A&M and Texas, every year where you're like, well, you just kind of keep bringing, but nothing changes, I want there to be some substance to it. And so there was, a little bit yesterday, I guess, with McMurphy's report of just the fact that maybe there's some more momentum there. But if that's, all it's going to be, then I don't really want to hear about it,
Well, no, I agree, but I obviously had to ask him.
No, I'm not saying you shouldn't have. I'm just saying that, like, now that we know and we've heard it and we've heard what McMurphy contributed, like, all right, next time we hear about it, let's make sure there's actually something that's changing and something that's moving on ahead for all parties involved. And everybody sounds to be in agreement on what the end result is. Just a matter of making everybody happy on the way out. And, quite frankly, with OU and Texas, like, they might not get to be all the way happy on the way out. I mean, after all, they're the one deciding to leave. And so there is some repercussion that comes with that based on the contracts that they signed. So, I'm sure the Big 12 will be willing to give some wiggle room, but the idea that they're going to walk out like scot-free without any sort of penalty or fine or any of that, I just don't see any scenario where that's going to be the place. So maybe that's the sticking point. Maybe it's just there's too many moving parts right now. All I know is like that's the least of my concerns if I'm anybody over there at the moment, because that can wait. As we pointed out, there's a lot more going on just right now directly for the football programs that need to be figured out, that are of far more importance at the moment and even in the next year than whatever ends up happening with OU, Texas, and the Big 12, as important as that will be down the line. So, just good to hear, that's just kind of still a work in progress. And I mean, interesting to hear that the DC hire might come after the bowl game. I mean, that didn't really surprise me. Again, it's an early bowl game. It's a pre-Christmas bowl game. You don't want to play pre-Christmas if you don't have to, right? So that's not ideal where they would want to be, but it maybe is ideal in terms of having to make some changes and some hires. But again, like the guy he wants to hire, maybe that guy's coaching until December 28th or to January 1st or whatever it may be. We have no idea on that front, but good to have, kind of a window of some sort.
When we come back, Craig's off the radar. Cedric Golden, Austin American-Statesman, the latest, in fact, what's happening with Chris Beard after being arrested yesterday morning. This is 365 Sports. Special goods right now going on at Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive. They just celebrated their 25th anniversary. I drove by their store, I guess it might have been yesterday, and they had the big, huge billboard right there next to their store on Lake Air. Free installation on all bed covers purchased and installed at Pickup Outfitters. Free installation. $100 off any Ranch Hand, Frontier, or Weston Grill Guard. $50 off any toolbox. These are great Christmas gifts for those who drive pickup trucks and maybe even for yourself. $100 off the RKI or WeatherGuard heavy-duty toolboxes, WeatherTech Husky floor liners, $40 off when purchasing a set, and ARE and Lear camper shells or DCU units are $200 off. Cannot be combined with any other order. Jay Eric, the owner, always doing something great. These are Christmas specials at Pickup Outfitters, CreateACommotion.com, and 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgin Ford.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion. And I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on 365 Sports, taking a look at some stories outside of our normal scope or well within our normal range, but just maybe one's headlines, stories, nuggets that we have not quite gotten around to, and a bit of a grab bag of stories here. Obviously, a lot of the talk today is about Mike Leach, and we did mention earlier, but I'll run it back and mention it once again, that Mississippi State will play in their bowl game coming up against Illinois, the ReliaQuest Bowl on January the 2nd, that according to their interim AD. But after passing away on Monday night due to complications related to a heart condition at 61 years old, the Mississippi State program saying, hey, we're going to do it for Coach Leach. Players 100% behind playing the bowl game and doing what Coach Leach would expect them to do. As their interim AD Brett said, we all know that's what Coach Leach would want, and it's what we should do. So players will be back on campus later this week. They'll get back into weight workouts and things like that, and then have their first full bowl practice on Friday. Zach Arnett, defensive coordinator, is now in charge. He was put in charge when Leach originally went to the hospital this past weekend, and he will be the interim head coach during the bowl game as well. So you can imagine that'll be pretty emotional on a very weird Thursday and Friday coming up for the Bulldogs program and their players. But young people are resilient, and change is a part of college athletics. And, loss isn't certainly, losses on the field are, but not, this type of a loss. But just best wishes to the Bulldogs. But, I mean, as we've seen, it's so much bigger than one program or two programs. Even the programs he coached, he was bigger than that as well. But Mississippi State's going to get back to work later on this week. So
yeah, and best of luck to them in the bowl game. I think it's the best way to honor him is by playing, because one of the things we saw in a video today was Jeremy Schaap asking Mike Leach, what do you want your obituary to read? And he goes, "That's not my problem. I'm dead. That's everyone else's problem." So his attitude would have been like, hey, go play,
And, it's a period of flux for Mississippi State. I mean, an interim athletic director and now this situation as well. So Bulldogs are dealing with a lot. But, I mean, how fitting is it truly that their bowl game's at Raymond James Stadium where there's a giant pirate ship? I mean, the odds of that are just crazy. And that's a missed opportunity, unfortunately. But I'm sure he'll be paid homage to in a very respectful way. But, that would have been a lot of fun, and hopefully still will be a lot of fun. But rest in peace continues on for the Pirate. But Mississippi State will play in his honor. World Cup earlier today. We've got one of the spots now secured in the finals, and that's leaving open the dream of one Lionel Messi, the arguably best player in the world. One thing that he has not accomplished in his illustrious career is to win a World Cup. So Argentina booking their spot in the finals earlier today, as Messi not only had a goal but also an assist in a 3-0 win over Croatia. So Argentina now into the finals, and just had where did that go? Just had the link up with the rest of that schedule. So yes, the 3-0 win over Argentina, that puts them in the final on Sunday, which will take place on Sunday morning for those here in America, and especially Central Time. I think it's going to be like a 9 a.m. start. But they will now face the winner of France and Morocco, and that will be coming up tomorrow afternoon. So Argentina, 3-0 over Croatia, will now face the winner of France and Morocco on Sunday morning, and the World Cup will draw to a close later on this week.
Good for Messi. Here's a good Messi story. Remember Smoking when we sent Jordan to that friendly that Mexico and Argentina had
Jordan
at
Victorin.
AT&T Stadium. So we sent Jordan Victorin, who was our producer there, to that, got him a credential and everything. He was so excited to see Messi. Messi didn't play in the game. And then they said, okay, he's going to do like a little media availability. It was literally he walked through a tunnel of media and answered questions as he walked onto his bus and left. And Jordan saw Messi for like this
3
much
seconds,
time
yeah.
as he walked past his face behind other people. And Jordan's not a tall guy either. He's in my realm too. So I kind of felt really bad for him. He said the game was fun, but like not getting to see Messi had to be former Jacob Wilson roommate, as a matter of fact, too. Jordan Victoria.
My brother's favorite player. He watches YouTube videos and like highlights of Messi when he's been playing.
Scored the first goal today. It was on a penalty kick. It was pretty awesome.
In soccer terms, that was an ass kicking, right?
Yeah, 3-0.
3-0. Yeah, I'd say so. Interesting. That's it kind of reminds me of another person we used to work with whose favorite player was King Griffey Jr. And he went to a Rangers game when the Mariners came into town. And
bought a week's full, taking like the whole series.
Yeah,
he didn't
so see him, and he
and
retired.
Griffey was traded, right?
No, he retired.
Oh, retired. Yeah, he retired.
Retired before he got to go that week. That's it. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait 3 more days. Had to.
He didn't want to be in the same stadium with a stalker. I mean, he was scared. He got some intelligence.
Well, shout out to Jordan and to Zach for both missing seeing their idols live and in action. One story we did not get to from the World Cup last week was the sudden passing. I mean, that's kind of becoming too much of a habit around the sports world. But Grant Wahl, soccer aficionado, well-respected journalist, and kind of the voice of American soccer. I say kind of just because I'm not authoritative enough to claim that, but that's what I've gathered, and that's certainly the sentiment of a lot of people. But he unexpectedly passed away last week, and there weren't really a lot of details. It's very sudden, very out of nowhere, and especially given his age. I mean, it was just a lot of questions immediately about what went wrong here, and the fact that he had been critical of, the Qatari government and critical of just the rights or lack thereof of gay people, having a gay brother. He was very outspoken. He had a rainbow shirt on that he wore at one point. He was documenting how officials over there were telling him to take it off, and there was a little back and forth. It didn't turn into anything physical or anything like that, but it inevitably ended up wearing the shirt, and I think that was one of his last pictures taken was actually in that shirt that he was wearing. Not only a selfie that he took, which is the last picture that I saw, but then, somebody else took one of him sitting at his computer, also writing a story. But, he was sitting there and he was documenting the World Cup, and next thing you know, there's just this report that he had passed away very abruptly. But I bring that up because we never mentioned it because of just everything going on. But his brother, as you can imagine, was shattered upon the news. His brother, very skeptical initially of the news, and especially with the fact that Grant Wahl was, bringing up the issue of gay rights, which was not something that people over there were necessarily comfortable with. His brother went on like a live stream, right after receiving the news, and called it, basically a murder. They basically said in so many ways that he felt like officials over there and somehow or another had a part in his brother's unexpected death, and especially in particular because he was a gay man. His brother was representing him. He felt this sense of guilt. Like, it was just all these very immediate emotions. And I remember thinking at the time, like, probably not the best thing to do, right, is go on a live stream right after you've heard about your brother's passing, and as emotional as you are, you might say some things that you come to regret. And I just wanted to bring all that up because his brother Eric has come out and provided some updates on Twitter in the following days since Grant Wahl passed away. And today, he actually cleared the air and said, "I no longer suspect foul play."
Yeah, they had he was his body was back in the country. They were doing an autopsy.
He had a virus. He had gotten sick.
He had gotten sick, and he had like a
bronchitis or something.
Yeah, it was like bronchitis, something along those lines. And he had gone to the medical tent on a couple of different occasions to get treated. But what started to come out in the following days was, like, on his podcast, he had made mention to his co-host of how sick he was.
Yep.
And he had made mention about having to visit the medical tent. And he had talked about, like, this cough that he had. They call it a death rattle. And so there, like, once you got past the initial shock and, like, the conspiracy part of things, which is understandable given just the setting and, what he was doing and what he was representing and all of that, you can see where a conspiracy could be easy to shoe in there. But then there were a lot of things about just how he was feeling and all of that started to add up. And so they still don't know the exact cause of death. His body is been transported back to the States. They'll do an autopsy, but I did want to make mention that his brother did go on record and say, I no longer suspect foul play. There were thoughts that maybe he had a pulmonary embolism, but the family also doesn't think that that's the cause of death. So it remains to be seen, but all in all, a tragedy. And hopefully his brother and the rest of his family find healing, and obviously a lot of colleagues that were massively affected. I thought of his podcast host. I listened to the clip of him talking about how sick he was feeling. His podcast host is like, just not thinking anything of it, because who would? And then, turn right around. That's one of the last times you talk to the guy.
Yeah,
it's just, it's crazy.
There was another journalist who died.
Yes, there was.
In recent days, is another journalist who died. And then so it's kind of, there is a little bit of a concern there. But again, that's good that he at least said that, because otherwise what he said, I mean, I get the emotion. I get the emotion.
Of course, especially when there's something as controversial as the topic of gay rights and how taboo that may be over there as opposed to here in America. And that was where his brain initially went, was that his brother was representing him and, had a rainbow shirt on. And so his brain went there in trauma. And so now he's cleared the air on that. And we'll see what happens. But yeah, there was another journalist that passed away as well. I'm not sure what happened there exactly, but has not received nearly as much attention as Grant Wall suddenly passing away, who was a voice of American soccer. Just a few more notes here. The NBA announcing, and I think I actually brought this up a few months back when they first kind of talked about it, but they've released the trophy designs now as well. But the league announcing various new postseason awards that will be going out, the rebranded trophies as well, including the MVP award. The annual winner of the MVP award will now receive the Michael Jordan Trophy. So that is what the MVP award is going to be. It was the Kia NBA Most Valuable Player, and they'll now receive the Michael Jordan Trophy. And they've got pictures online for those that are interested. It's Michael kind of vertically dunking is the way that the trophy looks. But Michael Jordan, a 5-time MVP. So if you win the MVP in the NBA, you will receive the Michael Jordan Trophy. They will also have other what they call reimagined trophies as well. The Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy will go to the Defensive Player of the Year. The Wilt Chamberlain Trophy.
They didn't do best not Bill Russell, but maybe he's on another one.
The Wilt Chamberlain Trophy will go to the Rookie of the Year, the John Havlicek Trophy to the Sixth Man of the Year, and the George Mikan Trophy for the Most Improved Player of the Year. They also are creating a brand new award for Clutch Player of the Year, and that will be the Jerry West Trophy.
I was going to say Robert Horry, but okay. I mean, if you want to go for a better overall player who's the logo of the league, then sure. Name it after him.
So all in all, with these reimagined trophies and, reshuffling the deck as far as these awards go, Jordan, Olajuwon, Chamberlain, Havlicek, Mikan, and Jerry West all will have their names on these various trophies for these awards. So that's a little bit of a shakeup that the NBA is doing with some of their hardware. And a couple of other notes that I'll add on to here. Kent State, I don't think we got to this. They are hiring Minnesota running backs coach and assistant head coach Kenny Burns as the next head coach at Kent State. 39 years old, been with Minnesota for the past 5 seasons, and has had some pretty good running backs there in that Golden Gophers backfield. So he'll now be leading the charge for Kent State. Also, Arizona head coach Jed Fish receiving a new 5-year deal worth $16.3 million, and he'll also have written into that contract some benefits as well, some additional financial resources. And finally, Kyler Murray. Saw it last night on Monday Night Football. He went out very early in that game for the Cardinals, and as feared, he did in fact tear his ACL during the game against the Patriots. That has now been confirmed, and so Kyler Murray now out for the rest of the year. Arizona lost that game 27-13, but yeah, tough break for Kyler Murray, and we'll see him at some point again in a return, but they're going to have to figure some things out in Arizona because it just seems like it's all kind of bad there at the moment. But, yeah, that's official news, and that's a few things that are off the radar.
Thank you, Craig, very much. In fact, you wonder back next year if Cliff Kingsbury, because he's
that's part of the big question.
I saw a note where they're 1-12 in their last 13 home games.
I think that's kind of where it starts, actually, especially after him and Kyler were arguing on the sidelines.
Yeah, Brennan Armstrong plans to visit Oklahoma State, Wisconsin. Wet Blanket, who's an Oklahoma State fan. He's a Virginia quarterback, Brennan Armstrong. Super Chat, 2 of them. Thank you, retired stockbroker, for both of your Super Chats. We appreciate that. When we come back, Cedric Golden, Austin American statesman, and the thoughts and latest on UT's Chris Beard. This is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on. They're the people that I've counted on for my vehicle as far as buying one a couple of years back. And when I've needed some work done on it because fender bender or whatever the issue may be, I've gone over to the dealership and they've fixed it right up. And, didn't originally buy my car from Richard Carr, but they have been, as I said, the people that I've counted on and have done such a good job that, quite frankly, when it is time for me, hopefully not too soon, but when it is time for me to go and buy a new vehicle, that will be the place that I go. But in the meantime, when I do need to get it fixed up, that will be the place that I go. And right now, whether you're in the market for a brand new vehicle, a pre-owned vehicle, or you're just looking for some service on your car as well, they are the people to go to. Right now, you can get a new truck or SUV from Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac as a gift, and they've got plenty of offers to make the gift as much of a worthwhile present as you could possibly give, but also make it fair to your pocketbook. Right now, trucks and SUVs in stock. They've got dozens of Sierras, dozens of SUVs, the biggest inventory that they've had on the lot in 2 years, and right now get 3.9% interest for well-qualified buyers on GMC Sierras and GMC Terrain trucks. In stock, also 3.99% financing on Buick Encore, Buick Envisions, and Buick Enclaves in stock. When it comes to the pre-owned cars, they've got dozens of those as well, both cars, trucks, and SUVs, several of them in stock under $20,000, so affordable, thoroughly inspected, and ready to finance. They have quality vehicles ready to reliably take you on the road this holiday season. When it comes to that customer service, you're not necessarily looking to buy a vehicle, but just maintain it, take care of it, fix something. Their service department standing by to keep you on the road. Go to richardcar.com to see their service specials and to set an appointment for quick and reliable service. For 23 years in Central Texas, Richard Carr's built a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs. Run by proud Central Texans. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties or time with the family, with various specials available while supplies last in store or ordering by phone, including 8 to 10 pound half spiral hams at $4.15 a pound, 12-pound pit hams at $4.35 a pound, 8 to 22 pound bone-in hams for $3.40 a pound, 14 to 16 pound whole raw turkeys at $2.85 a pound, and $4.80 a pound for 9 to 12 pound whole smoked turkeys, 6 to 8 pound mini pit hams for $5.99 a pound. Limit 4 of each item per customer. Call in advance to ensure availability or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Waco Custom Marketplace, your full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses. And the toppings? Crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Well, first of all, what kind of mythical powers does a Sun Devil have? We got to consider that. I'm going to say the Wildcat's out. The Trojan, does he have a horse or is he on foot? Does he have a bow and arrow or just a sword? The Bruin, definitely formidable. Another bear up there at Cal. The tree, I imagine that tree is going to get chopped down, unless we're going to go with a bird and somebody might get pecked or something. I don't know.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
That's greatness with him picking out who would win the mascot fight. And I think he was a little bit worried about Colorado and the Buffalo.
Yeah, we can get to that. Otherwise, it would have been a 90-second rejoin. But,
so we're now joined by Cedric Golden, a columnist for the Austin American-Statesman. We'll get to what we wanted you on for. But, Cedric, your thoughts, if you don't mind, on Mike Leach passing away.
Man, not another one like him. And for somebody who puts food on the table with good copy. And when we talk about good copy, it's not about what we're writing. It's about who we're interviewing. And Mike Leach was one of a kind. Man, I remember one year, I think it was 2008, I was dispatched with doing a Mike Leach column, a Texas Tech column, what have you. And I called a couple of times and it just rang. He never had voicemail set up on his phone. And when he did, it was full. And so I wasn't able to leave him a message. So I told my boss, I'll try to write something else the next day. And I got home, ate, and then woke up. And my wife's like, who's calling you at 1:30 in the morning? And I'm sitting there going, oh, my God, I'm about to get divorced. And it was Mike Leach. And he goes, hey, this is Mike Leach. Somebody need to talk to me? It's like 1:30. And I go, hey, Coach, it's Cedric Golden. How you doing? He goes, man, I'm doing great. I'm watching National Geographic right now, and I'm going to watch the game film in a minute. And I'm sitting there going, it's 1:30. And we talked for 20 minutes, and, he's gold. And he's known more for being an innovative offensive genius, but I will remember just the conversations. He was on my podcast once or twice, and always talked about how Texas Tech owed him money, and I guess they still do. And so you talk about the offensive wizardry of his teams, but my thing is, guys, we can talk all day long about X's and O's and wins and losses, but when someone like him passes away, you remember how a person made you feel. And anytime I talked to Mike Leach, there was always a smile on my face because he made people happy.
Yeah, I think Cedric, it's not only a sad day for football, it's a sad day for comedy. I mean, I kind of feel the same way I did after hearing Norm Macdonald or Bob Saget passed away, because the guy was genuinely funny. Like in a way of, had that been his discipline, he probably could have been great at that too.
Yeah, you see a guy like Anthony Jeselnik, and he's very dry humor and smart, and I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Leach was very much like that. For the older guys like me and Smokey, Stephen Wright, very, very dry and funny without even trying hard to be. He would have been great at that. If you go to YouTube and do Mike Leach on weddings, my God, that is a laugh riot. I laughed so hard, and I hadn't seen that in years. And there's so many stories, and we've all been around him. And quirky, strange, weird, great, all in one. You can never make another one of him. And we're gonna miss him because of the coaching. And he always sneaked up on somebody, no matter who he was coaching, and he'd spring that upset. But it's the conversations I'll miss the most.
Cedric, I don't know how to transition away from the good memories of Mike Leach into a much worse topic, but I mean, that's part of why we're having you on, is to talk about what's going on in Austin right now. And of late, most recently, that was the news yesterday surrounding head basketball coach Chris Beard, his subsequent suspension. And it seems like it's kind of quieted down today, but your thoughts on kind of what went down yesterday and just sort of what's come out since then and how that's being handled down in the ATX.
Guys, you just never know what you're going to wake up to. And I woke up to 174 text messages, and I'm sitting there going, first thing I go is, man, Coach Leach must have passed. Because, we were on the Leach watch for the last couple of days, and I see this and I go, what in God's green earth is going on with Beard? And just a total shock, a huge blow to the program, a huge PR mess for the university, and maybe the end of Chris Beard's Texas tenure as we know it. $30 million on the table, and you're in an altercation. Man, we none of us were in that room. The only people that know what really went down are those two people and God. And I can pretty much assure you, whatever went down was not worth it. There are no winners in this story. The players are trying to hold it together, but this is the guy that brought them here, most of them, and there are a lot of new faces on this team, and a team that's arguably the best college basketball team in the country is now having to deal with their coach arrested in handcuffs on video in a prison uniform, just humiliating. Made probably the worst decision of his 49 years on the planet. And now the university, the players, the team, the fan base, Longhorn Nation has to deal with the fallout, whatever that might be. It's quiet today, but we know it won't be quiet for long.
Cedric, I know that there is always, as you mentioned, there's two sides to the story, but based on the arrest report, based on the information that was included, can you see a scenario where he doesn't, that he does coach again at Texas?
I don't, Smokey. Man, I don't. I just do not. it's ugly on the surface. It's damning. The details are bad. Just a bad look. The optics are horrible, and it would take a really monumental effort, not only in the legal system. I mean, those charges would have to be dropped, or he'd have to. I mean, if he pleads down, then he's saying he did it, and then that's a non-starter. He's got to go. But I think the charges will have to be dropped. I really wonder what his lawyer has cooked up, because I watch a lot of Law and Order, and these are really smart guys. Is there a plan to try to change the narrative to make it look like maybe it didn't happen like the police report said? I don't know. But if you're asking me today if Chris Beard's going to ever coach at Texas again, I would have to say no.
Cedric, it would seem to be a slippery slope for Texas to try to explain away details, even if the charges are dropped, because in abuse cases, a lot of times the charges are dropped. It's not uncommon to see that. And to try to explain it away or explain away details, especially for Chris Del Conte, this could be a career-defining decision.
It really could. And, if his name was Greg Hardy and he played for the Cowboys, he wouldn't really have any problems. He'd still be working. But this is different. This is different. This is a college basketball coach at the flagship university in the state of Texas and one of the big universities in the country. Chris Del Conte has made his bones by making some really, really good coaching hires in his short time here. And Vic Schaefer on the women's side has been to Final Fours. He's a great hire. Mike White, the softball coach, gets him back to the Omaha and to the College World Series championship series. He's a great hire. And then when you bring in Beard, who had that magical 2019 Final Four run with Texas Tech, that was viewed as a coup, an absolute coup. And so I'm like, man, I just don't know that he has a whole lot of wiggle room as the athletic director in bringing back a guy who has been accused of something so egregious. And you know how our society is now about domestic violence. It's been long overlooked. Women's groups will have something to say if he does come back. And guys, and I know this is very low on the totem pole, imagine what the road trips are going to be like if Chris Beard is back coaching. Imagine his return to Lubbock. There are already memes all over Twitter of pictures of Chris Beard in prison uniform and just some demeaning. It's a really bad place, Twitter. We know that. And basketball fans, particularly fans in Texas Tech who still believe they were wrong by Beard leaving, are going to be out for blood when the Horns return with or without Chris Beard.
What kind of a scene was that last night with Rodney Terry taking over and having to go to overtime to beat Rice? Obviously, a tough task and just a weird day overall, but what kind of scene was that?
I didn't get to go to the game. I watched on TV because, that was an all-day sucker, and I was like, I'm not headed over to the movie, man. Not there. And they're going to have some more basketball games. But good for Rodney Terry that he was able to marshal his resources along with Chris Ogden and company, and I think that they are going to be okay with or without Chris Beard because Rodney Terry knows these Austin streets. He coached at Bowie High School. He attended St. Edwards. He coached for Rick Barnes, and then he went off and became a head coach at UTEP and Florida, at UTEP and Fresno State. So he's got a nice pedigree. He's well respected. He's a hell of a recruiter. He was in on Durant and guys like that, DJ Augustine, people like that. he's one of those guys that might be one of the most underappreciated people over there. So I really think that he's going to be fine. And I think the Longhorns are going to still win some games. Chris Beard is Chris Beard, and there's only one Chris Beard. But Chris Beard has much bigger problems right now than winning basketball games. He's trying to save his career.
Depending on what UT decides to do, is there any doubt that if, in fact, Beard does not come back, that Rodney Terry would become the interim head coach for the rest of the year?
That's a really good question, and I don't know the answer to that. But I think that would be the smart move to make. Why upset the apple cart when you know that the guy that you want is probably coaching somewhere right now? So he's not going to be able to leave a team that's presumably going to be in the NCAA tournament and then come to coach you. Give Rodney the reins for the rest of the season. Sit down with Rodney. Allow Rodney to apply for this job, and then give a nice interview to him, and then bring in whatever candidate you want. But understand that the guy you want, if it's not Rodney, is probably somewhere coaching.
Cedric, I know you can't answer this exactly, but I'm sure everyone's curious. Like, any idea of what this process kind of looks like? I mean, I know they're at the mercy in some ways of the law, but, obviously not something they'd probably want to see drag out either, and yet give a fair shake to hear this out. But, like, any idea on how long this could be, this limbo with Chris Beard?
No idea, but I think the sooner the better. But I think a lot of it's going to have to do with the legal process playing itself out.
Right.
Being accused of a crime and committing a crime could be two different things. I'm not here to convict Chris Beard, but I am here to say innocent until proven guilty. Like we've said, though, guys, the evidence that we've seen is damning on the surface, and I think they need to see what happens. Does he get, does a grand jury return an indictment? And is he going to face trial, or is he going to plead down? Will the charges be dropped? So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered before they can make a decision. But I do know that when a guy is suspended without pay, man, that's a real message. Because how many times have we seen a public official, a cop, or a teacher run afoul of the law, get accused of something, and then get suspended with pay? Mm-hmm. This time he's gotten suspended without pay. And I think that's a real message being sent to Chris Beard by the administration.
Cedric, in the media of Austin, you're a part of it. There's a reason I asked you. There's a handful of you that are just elite at what you do. But when some other places have been under fire, it's been outspoken, right? What is the media right now about Chris Beard? What are some of the things that's being said?
I think everybody's shocked that it happened, and I think it's got moving parts. It's fluid, but it's really, really shocking that this kind of thing will happen. It happened 2 days after I covered them at a game. I talked to Jimmy Blacklock. And Smokey, you know that.
Oh, yeah.
He played at TJC where we went to school, and I had a wonderful conversation with him and talked to Chris Beard about Jimmy Blacklock, and then just a few hours later, there he is, at the center of a firestorm that he surely wants no part of. So, as far as the media is concerned, guys, we are shocked. But nothing that happens is a complete shock. I mean, because in America and in the world, only thing that's that you can hang your hat on is that things change. And if you had told me that Chris Beard was going to be behind bars for 12 or 13 hours, you told me that before the season, I would have laughed you out. I would have laughed. I was like, that's not going to happen. He's never gotten into trouble. But if you're asking me about being fired or not being fired, I'll leave you guys with this. They basically fired Tom Herman for being a jerk. And Chris Beard is a winner, but Tom Herman never broke the law like that. if you can fire Tom Herman for falling out of favor with his locker room, then you're well within your rights to fire Chris Beard for putting the University of Texas in such a horribly negative light.
Cedric, great stuff. We appreciate it. Thank you for being a part of the show. And I know that yesterday you probably went home and just collapsed. We've all been there. We've been there.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, man. And I'm going to Thursday to I'm going to volleyball
Nebraska
tomorrow in Omaha, and hopefully no one gets arrested in Omaha, and I can cover a sporting event and come back and maybe do some Christmas shopping. Don't forget my present, Smoak.
I won't. It's on the way. Thanks for your time. Hey, Seth, great to know you. Great to see you. Known him for a long, long time. He started out in Tyler and has been working for the Austin American-Statesman for forever. Appreciate his time and a lot of perspective. And he basically said he doesn't see how, in fact, that Chris Beard will ever coach again at the University of Texas, with still letting process run its course.
Yeah, and I knew asking him about like a timeline, I tried to frame it like I wasn't expecting him to have an answer for that, but you do wonder, like, how long can you allow this to sort of linger? 6 weeks from now, is Chris Beard still suspended without pay? 2 months from now, like how does that sort of unfold is what I'm curious to see, because, this is something that I think you want to have wrapped up, but obviously have to be fair and let the judicial system play itself out. But man, what a bombshell that was yesterday. And like he said, it was completely out of nowhere. I know there are plenty of people, especially out in Lubbock, Texas, who feel like, Chris Beard wasn't always like the perfect angel, maybe. Not that he was ever really portrayed that way, but that, he wasn't just some totally innocent dude. But I mean, even still, even if you feel like he's a jerk or something, you're not predicting this. I mean, this is out of complete nowhere. And just imagine Chris Del Conte and that phone call he received. I mean, that's something I wish I could peek in and see what that reaction was like. I'm probably a lot of silence and just wheels spinning, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and just in life, whenever you hear about, a domestic abuse or something like that, very rarely are you like, oh, no, that tracks. Like, I would think that person does that. Most of the time, you're pretty surprised because you're not going to show that side of yourself in polite society. You're not going to do that. But, occasionally you hear one, you'd be like, yeah, that probably tracks. He's got a problem. But with Chris Beard, and you don't know, the other thing about it, though, is this police report, just based on the details we have, for the charges to be dropped is one thing, but for both parties to try to explain away, like, well, this is what you told the police that night. So,
I'm not really good in the law, but can't the state still go and try to prosecute?
Yeah, the state could still do it. But even if that doesn't happen, like the facts of what you reported to the police that night, to me would be the compelling thing if I'm the University of Texas and trying to move forward with Chris Beard, because it's not just the illegality or the criminality of it. Potentially, it's the fact that you were in this situation that we are acknowledging happened at some way that now we have to explain away, and that's just not a good thing. And that is something that will define that athletic department for a long time, and one that has been able to skate by without a lot of controversy like this in its history. Very, very little controversy at the University of Texas. Now, is that because they're good at covering things up? Well, maybe, but also because they're powerful enough to be able to dismiss things when they happen and then just hire somebody else.
And then maybe there's
smart enough to do it. Yeah.
And also there's a point of, okay, we can't let this linger. We're done. I mean, and they didn't always do that, haven't always done that, but that's also a part of the process as well.
Yeah, I think they've typically handled things pretty well. And I mean, and by covering up, I assume you think like, a freshman cornerback like shoplifts or something, and we just don't hear about it like it's on ESPN's ticker or something like that. Like those things, I think every program deals with, like discipline issues or stuff like that. But as far as like major scandal, no, they haven't been involved in anything certainly of this nature and somebody this high profile. So yeah, it's new territory for them. It's shock for a lot of people out there, and have to let the judicial system play out. But like you said, I mean, even if she reneges on what she said in the police report, I mean, if you're Chris Del Conte, you got to go like, okay, even if she comes to me and says like, this is all misunderstanding and, whatever, even if you know Chris Beard really well, like there's that chance that this happens again. And that's what you have to be fearful of.
And you have to also look back as it happened before, and they just never know about it because a lot of these abuse cases are multiple. And it's constantly occurring.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing. It's not just to like, oh, well, he's clear on this night, and it's all just okay now. No, you got to worry about what could still happen, and if it is a recurring issue. And it's a complicated topic, man. It really is. And so that's why Chris Del Conte and the others who will be involved in whatever decisions are made get paid the big bucks is to handle situations like this, although it's not the ones they would prefer to be handling, obviously.
There's the arrest, there's the affidavit. There will have to be photos. And sometimes when that is the case, whatever photos, that might be the end right then and there.
They're not attached to what we can see right now, but that will be public.
And I don't want to see them.
But that will be public record for people who do want to see them eventually. And
someone will get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Like a TMZ or someone like that before it's said and done.
Exactly.
Like a Texas.
Yeah, and if you are Texas, you do not want this to be an Urban Meyer, Zach Smith situation where you had an opportunity to stop this or do your part to stop it when it happened, and then instead you kick the can down the road.
All right, when we come back, he's a Hall of Famer, the columnist in John McClain at GallerySports.com and also with Houston's 610 Radio. He's next. His thoughts next on 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza, man. I open up the screen to what they have, the various specials, and it makes me hungry because their pizza's delicious. Pepperoni Magnifico. Every inch of that pizza, as much as possibly can be done, covered up with pepperoni. Order now online, PepMag. $9.99 for a large, and you, of course, can go and pick it up or have it delivered if you want to put the order in, and they'll deliver it to you. $3 off large specialty pizzas. Let's see, a one-topping pizza, $7.99, cauliflower crust also available. 10% off e-gift cards, no gift wrap required. You can buy those right now, valid through December 30th. Download the app, get 25% off your first menu price order. Contact-free delivery, carry-out available, and, of course, they will deliver to wherever you are if you have in the delivery area of Marco's Pizza. Here we have 5 in Waco, in the Waco area. Woodway, Hewitt, Belmead, China Spring, and in Robinson. Bob Mock, the great general manager, owner of all of these stores, been in the pizza business forever. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it, marcos.com.
It's a staggering fact, and one that should give you pause. More than 130,000 trucks drive around Central Texas roads every week, and sadly, as many as 50% of them drive around completely naked, without a stitch of accessory on them. The plight of truck nudity is real. Won't you help? This Christmas, open up your heart to those in need. Maybe a friend, a family member, or maybe it's your truck. Give generously and give them the gift of dignity. An outfit from Pickup Outfitters. At Pickup Outfitters, we're doing our part too. We've extended our Truck Friday specials all the way to Christmas Eve. Like $50 off any standard toolbox, $100 off RKI or WeatherGuard heavy-duty toolboxes. Please don't turn a blind eye. Christmas is not the time for a truck to go naked. Give the gift of an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. Fighting truck nudity for 25 years at 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This
This holiday season, shop the great selection of new cars and trucks at Allen Samuels in Waco. During the Big Finish sales event, get amazing deals on new 2022 Ram trucks. Designed to be durable, functional, and stylish, Ram trucks give you that first-class feel with luxurious leather trim seating options, exceptional legroom, and storage. If we don't have exactly what you want in stock, we can build the custom truck of your dreams and order it today. Hurry in, wrap up some of the best deals of the year on Ram trucks at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with NFL Hall of Fame columnist John McClain. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943. Read John's work at GallerySports.com and SportsRadio610.com.
Welcome back into 365 Sports with the John McClain. In just 1 second, did want to update part of the coaching carousel, though. We kind of touched on, I think, brought up, I believe, Troy Taylor's hire at Stanford yesterday. We didn't really spend a lot of time on it, but just wanted to pass along. Pete Thamel now reporting Sacramento State will promote defensive coordinator Andy Thompson to become the school's new head coach, replacing new Stanford head coach Troy Taylor. Thompson has been at Sac State since 2019 and was at Northern Arizona for more than a decade prior to that. So the coaching carousel starting to get down to the nitty-gritty here. I don't even know what, like 1 or 2 jobs open at this point. But, yeah, Sacramento State is now filled.
All right, Craig, thank you very much. We're now joined by Hall of Fame columnist John McClain, GallerySports.com, 610 Sports Radio in Houston. I know that a lot of what you do, people think is NFL and NFL only, but you do keep up with a lot of others. Did you ever bump into at all Mike Leach?
I didn't, but I kept up with his career from the time he got to Lubbock, since I'm, such a big Baylor fan, and I watched his career. I thought he would never be able to resurrect his head coaching career after the scandal and the controversy of his battle with Craig James's family over what they claimed was his abuse and mistreatment of their son, Adam. And I'm glad he got another chance at Washington State. And that was such an ugly ending there that kind of served to offshoot all the great things he'd done out there. I remember when he did the weather report. I remember when he said he wanted to throw the ball because he didn't think in Lubbock you could get a lot of guys to come out there when they were the big linemen, big offensive linemen. They're going to go to A&M, Texas, Oklahoma, and LSU. So he had to throw the ball in place of the run, throw it set up for run, and he was happy with a 4 or 5 yard completion on first down, and it worked. And he called it the air raid. His mentor was Hal Mumme. He'd been with Mumme in 3 different places. The last one at Kentucky, where Guy Morris was before he came to Baylor. 1 year at Oklahoma and he got that job. And Leach said some crazy things that get other coaches fired. Like players spend too much time listening to their fat girlfriends when he lost a game to A&M today. Can you imagine what that would be like? But he always survived, I think, because people came to expect the outrageous from Mike Leach, and sometimes it overshadowed what a terrific offensive innovator he was.
Yeah, absolutely. John, to the NFL now, one of his, greatest players was Cliff Kingsbury, the first quarterback to play for him. Last night, that Patriots and Cardinals game was pretty interesting. Kyler Murray's out. Cliff Kingsbury keeps losing. And Mac Jones and Matt Patricia don't seem to be getting along, but the Patriots won last night. Do you think Cliff Kingsbury is short for that job in Arizona? And what do you think is going to go on with Mac Jones and Matt Patricia down the line?
I think that Bill Belichick next year will have a legitimate offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, maybe Cliff Kingsbury, maybe Billy O'Brien at Alabama, who coached there for 5 years. I don't think they would have a hard time getting a good coach to go there, because if you want to be if you want an opportunity to be a head coach, or you want an opportunity to be a general manager, go to the Patriots. That's how Bill O'Brien got the job with Penn State and played a big role in him getting the job with the Texans. I'm sure Kingsbury's going to be fired. Remember, he had a cup of coffee at USC as the offensive coordinator. And I think Cliff will be an offensive coordinator somewhere. Unless Kyler Murray makes a miraculous recovery from torn ACL surgery and rehab, there's a good chance he can miss the start of next season. But, there have been some players make miraculous comebacks from ACL surgery, most notable being Adrian Peterson, who had the quickest recovery I've ever seen at a 2,000-yard season. So I like Clint Kingsbury. I wish him the very best. If he gets fired, Steve Keim, GM, he's been there a long time. Maybe he needs to go too, because he's the one that hired Cliff. But Cliff hopefully will land on his feet as an offensive coordinator at a big-time program in college.
John, I don't know that many people out there had any grand expectations for Cowboys and Texans as far as a competitive ball game goes, but it was that and more. Jalen Petrie had himself a heck of a day. Just your thoughts on watching that one unfold.
Craig, I picked it Cowboys 42-13, and I was astonished. And I never thought the Cowboys would lose the game. They just have so much more talent than the Texans. But the Texans didn't allow a sack to a team that had 48 in most of the league. They didn't allow any to Cleveland the week before with Myles Garrett. The rotation at quarterback kind of surprised everybody, kept the Cowboys off balance. Texans had a chance to win the game with 5 minutes left, and they blew it. And I thought then, no way. Cowboys going to lose this game, even though I get the ball on the 2-yard line.
John McClain with us, the Houston Chronicle. John, Jalen Petrie, when we have thrown out what's wrong with the defense this year or why were they not this and that, obviously Petrie, Bernard, JT Woods, among others, Tejada had left. But your thoughts about where he is and the reputation of where he is right now as a rookie in the NFL. He was fantastic.
It's very interesting because he was missing a lot of tackles. According to Pro Football Focus, at one point he was second the most missed tackles by a safety, and I didn't see that didn't happen to him when he was at Baylor. And then they had him playing around the line of scrimmage like he played at Baylor, and he struggled making tackles in the open field. So they moved him to free safety, and he's been great. He makes a lot of tackles. He makes hard hits. He forces turnovers, and I think that now is his position. And they've been playing well on defense. It's amazing to me. The Texans have allowed the fewest touchdown passes in the NFL. The worst team in the NFL has given up 11 touchdown passes. There's 5 teams that have given up 12, most of them good. And people go, well, they're last against the run. They're probably number 1 in touchdowns allowed rushing. No, they're not. They're fifth most. And Petrie has really bounced back. They've always loved his personality, his leadership ability, everything I told them they're going to love because I watched him at Baylor so closely, and as you guys said. And so Derek Stingley's been out for like 4 games with a hamstring injury, and Petrie's kind of stealing the thunder. But one thing I do know, they will not be drafting a defensive back high like they did this year with first and second round picks.
John, do you right now they've got the first pick in the draft, and who knows if that change. Do you think it will definitely be a quarterback with that first pick, or could you see them later on doing that because they have the other picks as well?
Well, first of all, Paul, that's not going to change. They're the worst team in the league, and they're going to get the first pick. They can win a game and still get the first pick. That's why Houston fans who hate Cowboy fans down here were so disappointed for them to come so close to pulling off that upset. And Cowboys fans down here just kind of treat them like a gnat on their shoulder, the Texans. And so they need a quarterback. You know, Davis Mills, I still blame his regression on Pep having promoted from quarterback coach to being a coordinator. I think he's done a bad job. And I think they're all going to be fired. But I'll say this, if you have a chance to get a quarterback you think is a franchise, you better take it. You may think, oh, we'll wait till next year with Caleb Williams. Well, there's no guarantee you're going to get him. And if you use your first round pick you got from Cleveland, you don't know who's going to be there. Now, that being said, the 2 best prospects are Jalen Carter, the Georgia defensive tackle. Texans desperately need a defensive tackle like that. Will Anderson Jr., the edge rusher from Alabama, Texans desperately need an edge rusher. But when Jeff Driscoll is rotating with Davis Mills against the Dallas Cowboys, it shows how much they need a franchise quarterback. But I'll say this, if they have Jalen Carter or Will Anderson Jr. way ahead of any quarterback, they'd be stupid not to take one.
Thank you, John. We appreciate your time as always.
Thank you, guys.
That's John McClain, Houston Chronicle for many, many years. Now part of GallerySports.com, Sports Radio 610, Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer, and major part of the NFL Hall of Fame committee that looks at the ballot and eventually elects the next class, which will come up during the week, I guess, of the Super Bowl in Glendale, Arizona this year. When we come back, Paul Catalina. By the way, Paxton said, hey, Smoak, will you ask Cedric Golden a question? It was time for Paxton to ask the question, and he hyperventilated.
Just whiffed. I mean, I had high hopes for you, Paxton, but, man.
He eventually was able to get it out. I took the question, asked it as if it was my question. Cedric Golden said it was a great question, so Paxton, maybe you save face.
Back to AA ball, Paxton. I mean, you got to work on some of the fundamentals, but always room for you to come up back in the system.
When we come back, is this on Mike Leach?
Yeah, and we have audio accompaniment. So.
Paul Catalina's top 5 in a unique way, and this is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Howdy, Chet Garner here, professional guide, searching for bears in the wild. But not just any bears, oh no, a particular kind. With hundreds of thousands roaming freely in the wild, yet still hard to spot unless you know the signs. There they are, Baylor bears. If you're a bear enthusiast or even a bear yourself, join me and let's find some bears in the wild.
Join the expedition at baylor.edu/alumni.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 Mike Leach moments with audio accompaniment. So the videos were just going to be kind of too much for Jacob, and there's copyright things, but we can do the audio. So I clipped short versions of all this, so it's not, some of them could go on 4 and 5 minutes.
Is this like Name That Song?
You'll know. You'll not. But number 5, just recently mentioned in the last segment by John McClain, this is Mike Leach with Fat Little Girlfriends.
As coaches, we failed to get through to them. As coaches, we failed to make our coaching points and our points more compelling than their fat little girlfriends. Now, their fat little girlfriends have some obvious advantages. For one thing, their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear, which is how great you are and how easy it's going to be and how, we had a whole bunch of people. Everybody wanted to win the football game, but nobody wanted to play the football game. Well, that defies every level of work ethic that exists with regard to football. And as coaches, we have to solve our failure on reaching them, and the players have to listen. And I'm willing to go to fairly amazing lengths to try to make that happen. I don't know if I'll be successful this week or not, but I am going to try, and there will be some people inconvenienced, and if it happens to be their fat little girlfriends, too bad.
Okay. There you go. And he said fat little girlfriend so many times.
12 times, I think.
It's so good. And it was, part of that was one they lost. Part of it was also they lost to A&M after that one. And he really did not like losing to A&M. Really, really did not like losing to A&M at all. And he
didn't like fat little girlfriends either.
No, that's not either. And I got to tell you, maybe it's kind of surprising to hear a football coach describe girlfriends of a football team in that way. But man,
He could get away with
it. And that was
it.
post-game. That wasn't even one where he was trying to be funny.
No, he
was legitimately angry at that point for losing, but still got some barbs in there. So that was a great one. Okay, I feel like a DJ here. Number 4 from Mike Leach's Greatest Hits is Mike Leach Does the Weather.
All right, everybody, it's been coming for a long time. Coach Leach has been wanting to do the weather since I blew the forecast for the Tech-TCU game last year. In the studio tonight with me is Coach Mike Leach, who I guess you think you know a thing or two about weather. Coach, good evening. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing really good, and it's an honor to be here and to do the weather with official equipment because generally I get up out of bed and before I get dressed and I walk outside and I go like this and calculate a few degrees warmer since it's early in the day, and that's the weather report that I have. And it's been really accurate up to this point, but we'll see how it goes here.
All right, Coach, let's get you started in live Pinpoint Doppler 1. Take it away, and let's get our forecast from you here on this Thursday.
All right, Pinpoint Doppler 1 basically means that we're going to be exact in this weather forecast here, and we're going to nail it down perfectly. So over here, we have Mule Shoe. So those folks in Mule Shoe, you can pretty well go to the bank with what you hear here. On Friday, we're looking at cooler than normal temperatures, and it's going to be windy, but windy's not all bad because other teams that try to throw the ball don't practice in the wind that we do, so therefore we can pass, they won't be able to, so we like that. 25-mile-an-hour winds are ideal, but maybe higher than that, but we'll still fight through it. Saturday.
Yeah. So I highly recommend, this is maybe one of my favorite ones, and I when I got to interview him early in my career, I did ask him about this. The best part about this, and I wish I still had that interview, but it's 3 radio station buildings ago and
probably on
50 computers. I mean, it was a lot ago, so wasn't there. But the best part about this video is he has no idea how to work the green screen. He's standing right in front of it, and for those of you who have never been in a television station, the green screen, and you'll see a meteorologist, the good ones know exactly how to walk around it and walk through the graphics. And, they do the motions that, kind of highlight what they're doing because the monitor where they can see where they're standing is over here. Well, he's looking at that, at the monitor over there, at the green screen's behind him, and he's just pointing behind him like this.
And the green screen is because they have to have that color to put the maps up. Just like you would, that's superimposed, basically.
Yeah. So he's pointing behind him, like, so Mule Shoe's over here, and the wind is coming this way, as opposed to stepping to the side and pointing at it, and it just makes it that much funnier along the line. Number 3, this one's very famous. This is one of his rants on candy corn.
No, I do not. I do not. That's been carefully researched since I was a child, starting at approximately, I'm going to say 3. And although it did have some brighter points in my life, in particular when I was young, the type of thing where it gets all over your hands and your face. Before long, though, I realized that was a grave error, and there was far better paths ahead than candy corn. So, yeah, I have no interest. It's one of those items that, there's a reason they serve it basically once a year because it's not very good to begin with.
I love it. That's
agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. And many people asked him, there was one with candy rankings that went on longer. That it kind of ties into this, so I would suggest going to look at that. He was very fond of gummy candies.
Yeah, he
liked
was.
Europe because they had everything gummy. But yeah, he ranked candies after a win, just standing on the field post-game interview, which I don't know how many people do that. Number 2, well, just one, and Mike Leach. Number 2, these next 2 kind of hit close to home to me because I'm about to get married in June.
Are you listening to him?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I can, as much as it applies to my personal situation. But number 2, actually, Amanda liked this one a lot. This is him telling sideline reporter to just elope.
I know you have strong thoughts on weddings. I'm in the middle of planning one right now. Do you have any advice for me?
Who are you marrying?
His name is Trevor.
Okay, yeah, well,
I'll have to just set up a meeting and I'll talk to him. Okay, so where's Trevor from?
He's from Florida.
What does Trevor do for a living?
He works in sports as well, covers football.
He does what?
He covers football as well.
Really? Well, I don't know. We'll keep a close eye on it, but whatever you and Trevor decide, I would kind of keep it on the down low, which you failed to do that. Trevor was probably planning to, but you didn't. So go ahead and don't say anything else about it, but as soon as the season's over, or even an off week, go elope. Trust me on that. Go elope. Because basically every female in the family is going to terrorize you guys until it's over.
Yeah, he goes on for a while after that, and it's great. And I can tell you, he is not wrong on how complicated these things can get, and how there's a lot. Jacob, you've been through it. There are a lot of people who have opinions that you don't want to not take their opinion respectfully, but ultimately,
whose wedding is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I had one of my groomsmen tried to get me to convince my wife, Katie, to change the groomsmen attire a week before the wedding. And he's getting married soon. And so it's been really, really fun badgering him throughout his entire groom-to-be stage.
Yeah.
Are you going through any badgering?
No, actually, it's been, once we made a decision on what we're doing, it's been very easy. So
Good.
we have a couple more steps in the process, and then we're done, because we simplified. At the beginning, it was getting really complicated, and I was on the phone with people in Nashville talking to like caterers, and I'd hang up the phone, and then I'd say all the things I wanted to say, like just into the mirror or into the void, because it would have been rude to ask the person, like, how much do you think bread costs? What do you like? Yeah. It's not how it works. But
I got to say, Paul, to hear you say it was cheaper to get married at a resort in Hawaii than it was in Nashville, that absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah.
Well, it's because nobody's going to be there, right? I mean,
well, that's the other thing. Shrink it down. But yeah, it could be really expensive.
Like 15 people, not 150.
Yeah, exactly. Number one, and this is Mike Leach's part of his advice on weddings, which I will not comment on, other than it's fair advice.
Late to rescue you. The best wisdom that I can possibly give, wisdom I can possibly give on that subject, 9 days, and it's a little late. You should have come to me sooner. My wisdom would be, you have to stay out of the way. Now, and I wish you a very happy marriage, and I'm sure you'll have one. But I'm just telling you, when it comes to marriages, the women lose their mind. Your fiance is going to lose her mind. Your mother-in-law is going to lose her mind. Your mom is going to lose her mind. Several of your sisters and female relatives are going to lose their mind, and they're gonna barrage you with constant questions. What should we wear? And then, which of course my answer was, I don't care.
Yeah, he keeps going on that for 4 more minutes. And
the color of the napkins?
I don't care.
I think blue is good. Well, I thought the pink was pretty good. Okay, that's good. Well, you're just saying that, so it's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, I've found that, I'm not going to say that. That's a joke from my act. I'm not going to do it because Amanda would not. She doesn't like that when I tell it in the act. So, but he was just so good on that, and so I mean, a very, very wise guy, wise man.
Could talk about any topic,
exactly,
anytime, anywhere, any situation, even after a game and a coaching media session.
Also,
right,
Steve, by the way, I didn't do mascots because there's actually 3. He did one with the SEC, one with the Pac-12, and one with the Big 12, and I can't tell you which one's my favorite.
Yeah, and also, by the way, we played part of that earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Hey, tonight, this show, Condensed Sports Tonight on CW Channel at 10:30, and we'll maybe be able to get Eric Morris, the new football coach at North Texas, among some other things as well. But I think we've got to everything today. Again, our thoughts and prayers to Mike Leach and the family and so many who have been affected by him as a person and as a football coach and as his legacy. Thanks to Chris Level for the emotional time on what has been a tough day for him. For Jacob Wilson, thank you very much for being here. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak, our amazing sponsors as we chug towards another year. And thank you in the chat room and the text line. Good night, 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.